You're listening to M.T.V.B. Podcast. Movies, TV, video and board games. This show may contain swearing.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the M.T.V.B. podcast, a podcast that talks about my four favourite subjects. That's movies,
TV shows,
video games,
and board games.
I'm your host, Anthony, as well as most people know me as the Antman. And welcome. This week's episode is going to be a TV episode. We're going to be talking about our top 5 TV detectives of all time.
Law enforcement.
We are expanding the rules slightly.
And I'm joined around the table by the guys I love to talk about TV detectives, law enforcement guys. Introduce yourselves around the table, please.
Well, I am H, the man with two lists, and I'm back.
And it's me, Superintendent Supa Mario.
Nice.
It's me, Heisenbyrne, with the law enforcement.
You're going to stick with the law enforcement part, are we?
Well, I'm kind of...
Just keep saying it until it happens.
Till it, just feel it out. Just go for it.
Just feel it out.
Just 3-letter letters.
Let's go around the table and introduce ourselves, starting with...
Of course.
H, the man with two lists.
Indeed.
How are you, sir?
I am very well, thank you very much.
And how was the list for you?
Well, this was my choice. So
It was. Sorry, yes, this was an episode for Howard.
It was very easy for me to put together, and I was just plucking them left, right, and centre. I was like, "Yep, no, do I want to put that in?" Yeah, well, there was one most definitive choice.
Yeah, I think we know what that may
I think
be.
everybody probably knows what that is. It's probably not going to come as a surprise, but yeah, absolutely, my choice, my list. Even the B list. The B list is a little.
I was
going to
say, is there two?
There's definitely two.
Nice.
Yeah, I couldn't choose my choice and not have a B list.
Back with the two lists.
Back
Nice.
with the two lists, yeah.
All right. So let's go to Mr. Superintendent Mario.
It's me, Mario.
That was the list for you, sir.
It was good. It was great fun. So I have loads of honourable mentions that I wanted to put on the list, but I didn't. There's some that I may swap out in the kind of
Last
duration
minute.
of this. Yeah.
Okay.
There's one that I really want to keep it in, but there's also one that may supersede it, which is really bizarre for the positioning. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Okay. And then obviously, last but not least, Heisenbyrne himself. How was that list for you, sir?
It was difficult. Because
Yeah?
I realised the parameters that I was trying to set, and I realised I didn't watch them.
Right, okay, yeah.
So
This was my issue. We'll come to that
You were
later.
so excited about So
it.
what I was saying was like, and just off, I was like, I think I was like trying to just get an extra couple of hours of computer gaming while my mum was watching it, because I know who played them all and I know exactly, but I couldn't tell you any of them. But then there's a point when I started to where crime and police sort of shows started to become what I enjoyed. So I've taken some of my favourite shows with those characters, and I've chosen one specific character from that show.
Okay. But they're going to stick this one. None of them going to change, like possibly Emma Mario's might.
Well,
I've just added one to my list as well.
I mean,
something jumped in my head.
Starting!
I do have a couple of ones that I can if need be. So it was a hard list, because also there's like ones that I didn't put on were like the true life crime TV adaptations where you've had multiple series, but it's kind of like really great shows. But I thought it's not really best to sort of go into talking about that sort of thing. Whereas these other shows, they're just based on
We might save that for another episode.
True crime.
Yeah, true crime. Then that's a different thing. But yeah, so it's kind of like, so police shows where the sort of main character is the law enforcement or agent slash,
Cool.
So that's what I've gone for. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a mix up, because obviously I'll be going one way.
Of course, yeah, but that is going to make it interesting.
You know what they say, you should have been on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go, exactly. So anyone who hasn't followed us before or listened to us before, what we do is we do a couple of questions before we start our top fives. So let's start with the obvious, and because this is Howard's episode, the episode he wrote, what is going to classify as a TV detective / law enforcement?
So it's anybody that can solve a crime or a mystery, and it's kind of the program doesn't have to be centric around the character, because again, previous to this, we discussed what makes a TV detective. I think as long as the ethos of the program and the character align, that's kind of what I was looking at. So. Oh, I can't even read out any examples just to say, but yeah,
Just in case.
Just in case, yeah. You could have several crime solvers. You could have one crime solver. What I was kind of sort of pushing to one side was the whole program. The whole program is not the ethos.
But we're not going to talk about the program on the episode.
No,
it's the
it's the
actual
character.
characters, right?
Character or characters. So if you have a duo, that's fine. But yeah, that's kind of what I classify a crime solver as. It's somebody who, they don't necessarily have to be in law enforcement, but law enforcement is
Top priority.
it's the top priority. It's the reason that it's what drives the program forward. It's the reason that we watch it, and it's why we want the situation or the mystery to be resolved. So.
Okay. Let's go to the law enforcement side then.
Yeah, so I've done a couple where the central character, the crime is based over the series. So it's not like a mystery each week whodunit. And then there are a couple of whodunit, each week. So I've kind of mixed it up. That's what I was saying about like my favourite shows.
Yeah.
Which kind of blend into the two. Because, there's been good characters but crap shows. So I've kind of got to really kind of enjoy both characters.
So let's go to the middleman.
Hey.
Which side are you going with on this?
So I have gone TV detectives.
Okay.
Now there are a couple of law enforcement guys in here, but essentially they solve crimes.
Okay.
So my characters are not necessarily. I mean, a couple of them are definitely centric to the shows, but a couple of them are also in the shows. There's multiple characters, like you said, that will solve crimes. They're a team, essentially, but it's the one character out of that team that I've kind of gone, that's the standout. That's if I was solving crime, that's who I want to be.
Okay.
So that's where I've gone for it. But yeah, and quite a lot of them are flawed in some way or another, which I think is what makes a great detective, is you've got to hate them, then like them, then really love them. Because I think when you first start watching them, you find some of them you really kind of like, you don't like, and then by the end of it, you're like, actually, no, there's a really good person there. Like,
and on the flip side as well, you can start off liking
Yeah.
them, and then there's something about them that you think, you're not actually a really nice person.
Yeah.
But you're just very good at what you do.
Yes, definitely.
And did you watch these shows for this character, if it doesn't spoil it too much, or was you actually just in it for the show, the crime-solving part of it?
I would say for my list, it's the character.
It is the
Definitely.
character, yeah?
It's the character, yeah. 9 times out of 10, especially with what I've got on my list, you'd watch it for this character because they, again, like I said, the ethos of the show and the character, they align. But it's the character that always drew me in. And again, for one particular character,
I think we can guess.
Yeah, which you can guess. The show and the character are one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, definitely for me, it's the character.
Yeah.
If the show is enjoyable and there's other aspects of it that you can get on board with, that's a bonus.
Okay.
Definitely.
When I grew up, I was reading the Hardy Boys, the Three Detectives, the Alfred Hitchcock books, and they were the books that I grew up on. So those sort of kid detective things, and I wanted to be a detective. Like, it was in my head at that stage that, yeah, you're going to be the best detective ever.
Nice.
And you don't need to be a policeman. You can just be any Joe off the street and you can solve crimes and ride around in your BMX and hope for the best. And some of these characters aren't even police, and yet they're the central characters to the show. I think that's what makes it fun for me, is like those characters. So yeah.
Okay. Hardy Boys.
Never saw it.
I was talking about the wrestling side of it. But
All I think of is South Park.
one more question. So I'm going to address it to Howard because, again, this is episode. We're going back to the rules side of it.
Okay.
Could these characters impose as a detective but still solve the crime at the same time? Does that count?
What do you mean impose? What?
Like they aren't essentially actual detectives.
Oh yeah,
but for the sake
hell
of
yeah.
it, they impose as detectives
I
to
see what
get
you
to
mean, right.
people.
So they have the quality, the detective quality. So it's not necessarily their chosen career path.
Yes.
They're not labelled as detective so and so, but yeah, the detective part comes in. It's like I think I'm pretty safe by saying this. There's a superhero that we call a dark detective.
Yes,
He's
Dark
not
Knight
actually a detective. Is
No,
he?
no.
So
Well,
yeah, but as far as the police is concerned,
no, he's not. He's a vigilante.
He's a vigilante. So yeah, as long as the inherent quality of the character is detective at heart, that counts because they're still a crime solver. That's the passion. That's what they enjoy doing.
Okay, you guys agree with that? Or?
I agree. Yeah, I think so. I think, the character is, like you say, is the detective. Like a lot of the shows that you see on TV, it's an amateur detective. It's the character in the show is solving the crime. They might not be police. They might be police adjacent, but they're solving the crime. They're solving the problems. I think that's kind of a fair way of putting it.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice, moving on. I'm out of questions on this one then. If anyone else has any, we'll just go straight to the top fives.
Sounds good.
Let's go for it.
Let's do this!
It's time for a top 5.
So for anyone who hasn't enjoyed us before, what we do is before we do our top fives, we try and determine who is going to be the first person, where we roll our little 20 dial with the T-Rex built inside. Unfortunately, guys, Howard is on this episode, so should we just let him start?
It seems to be the natural order of things, doesn't it?
Right, I'll tell you what, I'll let Chris start on this one.
That's a good start.
3.
The evil, like a maniacal laugh right there.
17.
Oh! Howard's going low.
Oh, you'll get a natural 20 now. 12. 12, it's down to you.
Here we go. Might as well just give it a Mario.
Old man noises. 10.
Yeah, well done, Mario. You beat the streak. The streak is over.
Ended it.
Oh, Captain Two List is out.
Captain Toolis. I was trying to remember the name.
I've just been editing the video, so it's stuck in there.
Yeah. Right, so if we don't mention your TV detective, unfortunately there are quite a few of them, so leave them in the comments, and pretty much should have been on the episode. Number 5.
Number 5.
Starting with Mario. Off you go, sir.
My number 5 was a Sunday afternoon show. It was just instead of A-Team, and it is Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote.
Of course.
That's right. Angela Lansbury, one of her greatest, and probably the only character anyone really knows her for. Playing this kind of unassuming, I wouldn't say grandmother, because she was kind of not really a grandmother when she started doing the show, but this unassuming kind of aunt that would just bumble through mysteries. But actually, she was right on cue. She was sharp as a pin. She knew exactly what she was doing. Great character, great little mysteries. They were always really simple. They were always kind of a murder. I don't know how anyone still lives in Cabot Cove, because that place... Everyone should be dead.
Or in jail.
Or in jail. The amount of murders, the amount of places. Like, I don't think there's a house. Like, if you're a real estater in that place, you'd be like, yeah, someone died there. Someone died there. Someone died there. Someone died on their drive. Someone died in the attic. Yeah, it's like that little place. But each one was kind of... There was always something at the end of it. Like when they do the roundup, like everything else, you'd always have seen what she had seen. And the camera would have moved to it in the show. But you wouldn't have been noticing it because they would be having a conversation in the foreground.
Yeah.
And if you then go back and watch the episode again, which I may have done, to actually see it happening, you would see like the handoff of the jewels or the argument in the background or the murder weapon being put somewhere or something like that. But you wouldn't notice it because Angela Lansbury's at the front there, having a chat
with a soft lens focus. But yeah, absolutely right. The clues are always there in that show.
I never knew that.
And it also led on to another detective show as well. From Tom Bosley, who went on to do his own version, his own one.
Yeah. Murder He Wrote.
No, well, might as well have been. Weirdly, The Father Dowling Mysteries.
Oh, God.
Where he played a unassuming kind of priest who would go around. I think he was in New York. He might have been Chicago, but yeah. And he would go off solving mysteries here, there, and everywhere with his little nun sidekick, who didn't look like a nun in any way or form. Like he was this little old man priest, and she was the
kung fu fighting nun.
She was a pretty nun. Like she pretty much could. Yeah, but she was a really attractive nun that would follow him around. But yeah, it was kind of Angela Lansbury playing Jessica Fletcher, and Jessica Fletcher being the aunt that you really wanted. Like, and everywhere she went, everyone knew her. And she was an author as well, so she was writing books about the murders that she had solved in between it all. Which was literally what, conveniently. You
but she was always an author before she became a sleuth.
Yeah. And that's the name of the show, Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, she didn't do a day's work in her life.
But she never got, like, I don't know about any of the other shows. Like, every now and again, when you get these amateur detective shows, the main character ends up being arrested.
Yes.
Angela Lansbury, Jessica Fletcher, never got arrested for interfering or anything like that, or even getting involved. She was always on the police's side, and she was always very nice and cordial and very kind.
What an unassuming member, pillar of society.
She was, yeah. She was
basically just doing their work for them.
Pretty much, yeah.
We'll just leave her to it. She'll do it for us.
Our greatest detective is on the case.
Jess is in the room. Should be done in about 5 minutes. Should have spotted what's going on in the urn at the back there. It's all good. Yeah, I thought it was a great Sunday afternoon show. It's about 45 minutes an episode. It was wrapped up in like.
I'm surprised they've never remade it or like tried to at least.
I don't know if you could remake it.
They wouldn't have it, would it?
No, I don't know who.
Too much of an iconic role, really. They did bring it back, so it left the screens for a few years, and then they brought it back in the early 2000s just for a final run.
It ran for like 12 seasons, 264 episodes of essentially the same format. Like, and it never deviated from the format, and it didn't need to. I don't know why it ended. I don't know why it had to end. Maybe it was kind of.
Did it have an ending, or did it just end?
No, it just ended. There was a couple of TV movies, like 4 TV movies made for it as well. Right. So, like, I guess it just reached its natural progression. Like, you know, there's always an audience, and there's always kind of like an audience peters out. It's definitely got cult status. Like, she's got cult status as well. I'm pretty sure, like, around the world, there are people that. I mean, she's not cosplay status, because I don't know how you dress up as
an old woman.
Yeah,
bring a typewriter.
Yes,
she is bed knobs and broomsticks, isn't she?
She was. Yeah,
that was one of my favourite Disney films as well.
She'll always be.
Yep.
That for me, like.
Right. But yeah, this was kind of like that. Her character was the one that you wanted to hang around with, because you'd never get in trouble. She'd always steer you on the right path, and if you were close to her, you were pretty safe.
Yeah.
It was only if you were, and so there's an episode where she meets her niece at some weird party. I don't even know why she's there, and it's the uncle, or not the uncle. It's some relation to the niece that isn't actually related to her. That's the murderer. Right. So as long as you're a direct relative of Jessica Fletcher, you're always going to be fine.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, but then she had 1,000 nieces and nephews.
She did, because she kept turning up saying, "Oh, it's Nanny Jessica, it's Auntie Jessica." It's always predictable that someone associated with her family was going to be.
But I mean, this character, I mean, she was cool. You know,
weirdly cool.
Like you said, she was cool, Auntie Jessica. The perception of this program is that it's just some old biddy solving crime, yawn, yawn, yawn. But no, not at all.
No,
she was a game old bird, and she was up for solving that crime.
And it was just a good watch, because it was really easygoing. It was mid-afternoon, so it wasn't gruesome. It wasn't kind of, the murders were there, but they weren't kind of beaten to death with a hammer. It was, something happened. You'd see a black glove, you'd see a jacket, you'd see a watch, and then later on in the show, you'd see the glove, you'd see the watch, you'd see the jacket on someone in the room. So yeah, it was kind of, like you say, all the clues were always there. The show was actually quite easy to determine what was going on. But it was just nice, easy going watching, and she was such a great character. Like you say, iconic. Like if you were to talk to anyone of my generation about what mystery shows or what TV detectives, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would jump at Jessica Fletcher, like just jump into their head.
Yeah,
not necessarily their favourite, but it would jump into their head as like that's the show that they would have watched. Murder She Wrote was there on Sunday afternoons, nice and easy to watch.
Nice. And what a kick-ass opening theme
Oh,
song
yeah.
to it, right?
But I mean, it was so energetic because you watched and she was like this.
Yeah, just
the whole
typing away, yeah.
time. And,
But then it goes to that spooky bit. Do you remember?
Yeah,
She's like going
it
through the
did,
doors,
yeah.
there's cobwebs and everything. That's
Yeah.
the only part of the song that really got me. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
it's quite...
And at the end, it's supposed to be her on the typewriter and throwing away the
That's
bit of
it,
paper.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go.
Nice pick, sir.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Let's go clockwise to Heisenbyrne then. Number 5, sir.
Right, so we're going to just a 3-season running show.
3 seasons, my man.
3 seasons.
Counts as a
It's
TV show
acceptable,
then,
yep.
according to
And I
Ant's
didn't
rules.
watch the first 2 seasons because I normally don't like the person who plays the main character.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of like, it's just not really for me. But
Okay.
my mum was adamant that I'd like this show, and then she became so kick-ass. We're going to the Yorkshire Vales, and it's Happy Valley.
Oh yes,
I don't know this one, but okay.
it's good.
Is it good?
It's really
Yeah?
good. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you got Catherine Kaywood, and she's like a detective sergeant, just a basic officer in the village.
Yeah, she's
just a normal, pretty high up, but she's not running the thing, but she's sort of the person that you would want in the community. Because that's what I'm sort of basing it. Like, if there was something happen, these characters I would kind of want to look after
she's pretty
me
close
in
to
my
being
case,
like she's pretty close to being like a community police officer for that area. But you're right. She's more important. She's like
more
a
important
sergeant or something.
because it's a really small town. It's a quiet little village just in the Yorkshire Dales. She's kind of highly qualified.
Yeah, she's the most senior one there.
person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically the premise, obviously the show has an underlying sort of like main arc about it, and you see her sort of struggles and issues and stuff, but that's kind of like not the sort of character that you kind of see. You kind of see her do her job so well, and she kind of she'll take a beating, she'll put herself on the line. And this is, was it played by, what was her name?
Sarah
Lancashire.
Okay.
So it was the person from was it
Coronation Street? Yeah, playing the
and
dappy
all of these
kind of
Sunday programs that my mum, and I was like, oh, no, I'm not watching it, mum. But she plays this
fantastic.
really kind of rough and sort of damaged, but you can only see she's damaged because you're watching the show, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Because when you see her, she's just a tough person doing her job. You only get to see the vulnerability of the character through the lens of the audience, if you know what I mean. So
Right.
you see her struggles, which was basically her daughter had a serious attack and then ended up committing suicide. So it's kind of left this.
her daughter was raped. Her daughter was a drug addict. So she's essentially a single parent now. Although she's looking after her grandson,
Yes.
she's come back to being a single parent. Her son has written her off, has estranged from her. Her sister is an alcoholic ex-drug addict sort of thing as well. And her sister's kind of, I wouldn't say a sobering influence, but is there.
She's there.
And then the grandson is kind of like, he doesn't understand enough about what happened to have him there. The grandson still wants the relationship with his dad. His dad's in prison because of what he has done in the past. Like, he's almost murdered people and all sorts. And she is just trying to get through life, more or less.
That's it. But what you kind of get from the first, because I think it's 6 to 8 episodes.
It is, yeah.
It's because it's like BBC, or is it?
It's BBC, yeah.
They normally like to keep it sweet, 6 to 8 episodes, nice and simple. But what you get from the beginning is this sort of
You instantly hate him.
You
but
you're
her.
kind of with her,
Yeah.
all the way. I mean, he's a brilliant bad guy.
Oh, he
but
is.
So he's doing the right. But you kind of see each bit at the end of the season, you kind of get this payoff of right.
Yeah.
And again, you're kind of with her each step of the way, and then the final conclusion of it, you kind of get this nice journey from her being from the beginning of her recovery to being her retirement.
Yeah. It has some moments in it as well, like when her I'm going to spoil it, but when her trainee officer gets taken out. And
the car. That's when I knew
the reversal.
that this program was for me, because I was like, oh
it's
shit.
It's very much like that Game of Thrones thing where built a relationship with these characters. These characters are amazing.
Now
You
they're dead.
fucking killed them.
The way that they died was you're not
Yeah.
expecting that in a
No.
BBC program.
No.
You're expecting that on
Yeah,
HBO,
sure.
but that I was like,
In your head, you're going, she's police. She's going to sort this out. This is going to be the end. He's going to get his comeuppance. And then you're like, oh, fuck. It's like that Sons of Anarchy Opie moment where I always come back to this where like Opie was my favourite character. Opie was the best character I had. And then they killed him. And I was just sat there in shock going, this is not real. And they do the same
It's
in
a
this.
dream.
Yeah, exactly. That. It's a dream. It's a dream. It's a dream. Everyone's going to wake up. They're going to be in the shower. It's going to be like JR, Dallas, all over again. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Dallas.
But no, they went and fucked this. They do that again. You build a relationship with this character. You begin to like her. She begins to do something. And then all of a sudden it's like, bang, she's out. And you're like, oh, fuck. And then Sarah Lancashire's
she
character.
just comes up and then she goes on this journey, and it's kind of like, so you kind of have the backstory of the underlying of that crime that she needs to solve, and then there's the sort of case that they put in front of you in the linear sense of this is the case that the show's going to be about, and it kind of intertwines, and it basically spans all 3 seasons, and the payoff's just brilliant from me kind of going in, there's no way I'm going to like this character, to kind of going, oh, they ended it, which kind of, they could have got it, but they ended it good. She went out like on a high.
It's like you say. It's like you start watching it, you can't relate to her because she's not you. Like she's a grandmother. She's a mum of a child that isn't really her child. Like not a lot of people like her, but not a lot of people hate her. She's kind of, you're almost indifferent to her, aren't you?
Yeah.
And she doesn't do anything to warm you up. It's the villain. The villain pushes you more and more into her court, and the more and more you kind of come across Tommy, you're like, he's a nasty piece of work. I can see why you're the way you are.
But she goes above and beyond for like both sets of cases, her one and this one. She's like tugging at strings when people are saying let it go, and that's kind of the character person that you want. You want that sort of person to go and solve your crime. So it's kind of like, yeah. So yeah, it was a great show, and like I suggested, like if you haven't seen it, I think it's on
No, never heard of it.
It's
So
like Happy Valley.
Happy Valley, I would recommend it.
Yeah?
100%.
It's a program that's been on my watch list for so many years.
I
and
can't
everybody around me says
recommend
Happy
it.
Valley. You must watch Happy Valley. I've just never got round to it. Not because I want to.
The trailers did a really good way of making it kind of look, like to me, kind of look a bit boring.
Yeah,
just a
like
normal
it's something
sort
else.
of-
It looks like
and it was
Heartbeat.
so dark and so gritty, and you kind of
You're right.
you're behind this character from the whole sense of the way, but she never lets it interfere with her
No.
being a decent copper.
Yeah, she has morals as well.
Yeah.
Like, and because she's a local Bobby as well, you get little bits where she knows the local tow rags, and she engages the tow rag. She's like, what
when
you
she just
playing at?
goes down and faces him, like, because obviously in America
She'd
they
be
go
shot.
tooled up, don't they?
Yeah.
They've got guns. She just goes down as a 5 foot, woman against.
If I remember correctly, she goes to like a playground one and she gets punched in the face. And then she just pulls out the baton and goes, right, that's it, and takes him down. And this is your grandmother essentially, like taking
Damn.
down these tow rags. And she plays it so well. Sarah
Not Super Gran.
Yes,
she
has her porridge in a way.
doesn't play Sarah Lancashire. She
She's
does
so
everything
good,
that I never. So next time she's in something, she's she's kind of piqued my interest now, because like she's changed the way. She's a proper good actor.
Definitely. Happy Valley. I would definitely recommend it. Sam and I only watched it because like we ran out of stuff to watch. It was like, we want something with a bit of substance. And somebody at work, I'd overheard them talking about it. I was like, I should put it on. Started watching it. It was like, couldn't stop. We watched, I think, the first 4 episodes of series 1 in one night.
And then you're pretty much done,
and does it
aren't you?
finish?
Yeah, it has a nice.
It has a satisfying ending.
When you get kind of like, oh, that was shit, or that was.
No.
This one does it kind of like
the payoff is right.
What you get is kind of like, only 3 seasons, but you can't do any. The story
It was a satisfying.
It was.
There is nothing you can do with the characters any further than what's already been done. The story has essentially ended,
Finished.
and you don't need anything else.
It was spaced over I think it's spaced over like 8 years.
It
It's
is,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
the whole season.
Not like straight after one another.
And it's a continuous storyline from series 1 into series 3. But like Chris says, like you have in between, like every season has a
case
crime
on top,
to,
which kind of link, or like gang members, or like people of interest.
There's like almost like a side quest in each
Whereas
one.
if you watch it straight away, you kind of But if you've been waiting the years, which I think my mum did, like she can never remember who I was talking about.
We watched series 1 and series 2 almost back to back. I think we did them in like 2 weeks, and then series 3 suddenly started.
That's exactly where I did, because series 3 had just started, and my mum was like, "Are you watching Happy Valley?" And I was like, "No, mum, you keep telling me this." And she was like, "Oh, you got to watch it." So normally she's pretty good in like recommending me on those sort of things. So yeah,
Nice, mate.
yeah, Happy Valley, iPlayer, give it a go.
Nice. Right, let's just get this out the back. Cat out the hat. So my interest is going to be very short but sweet. But speaking of recommendations, my number 5 is a recommendation from yourself and yourself.
Ooh.
Back on the episode where we talked about the top 5 TV bad guys of all time.
Oh, I nearly put it on.
Nearly put it on?
Yeah.
You got it on?
I haven't, no.
So my number 5 is Raylan Givens from Justified. The only reason it's so high on my list is because I've only seen the first 2 seasons of it. Because,
He's
like I said, I started watching it and whatnot. But I put it on here because I like the idea of this detective, copper, marshal, whatever he is, leaving his hometown to go to the bigger thing. Like at the very first episode, he's
the big thing. He's the big thing. He's
like,
in the big city.
That's it. And he's solving the crime of the first bit. Like takes down the hitman or the drug dealer.
He's the drug dealer. Yeah, he's a drug dealer. He's got to bring him in because there's a warrant out for his arrest. He's found him, even though he's kind of tried to hide his identity. And you've got that confrontation between Raylan and him, which then lends itself to the name of the show, which is
Justified.
Yeah, that's it. And it's such a great
opening
scene. Yeah, that's the whole thing, isn't it? You can't just shoot someone in, but he drew first. Like Raylan Givens is just such a character,
and like you guys have seen the whole lot. I'm learning to grow with this character, but the alter ego he has in his hometown is it his brother? Because he treats him like it, but it's not.
No, it's not his. But no, so they worked.
Walter Goggins.
No, that's his sort of like old mate.
Yeah, so they were mates
from school, and like there's like a respect sort of thing.
It's the thing between them is like
there's a dad link because both of their dads worked down the mines.
Yes,
both of their dads were kind of into explosives, and Walter Goggins' character is into explosives in a big way. He goes off to join the army and then comes back and starts working down the mines. As where I believe Raylan goes off to become a lawman. So he was working down the mines with him. He then goes to war. He then comes back as well, and he goes off to be a lawman. So it's what happens on their 2 separate paths. They come from the same place and the same kind of being brought up, and then they go separate ways.
Yeah, I mean, like literally the opposite of one another.
100%. Which is weird because their dads are the polar opposites of them as well.
Yes,
Arlo is a great character.
But yeah, their dads are completely different characters to them as well. And Raylan is Raylan's ahead of the game. Like if you ever watch it, like he is like your typical TV detective. You can see the cogs working in a couple of episodes, and he just turns around to whoever's with him and goes, "You just wait here. I've just got to go deal with something."
Yeah.
And it's him going off to look at something else that he's just thought of, or it's just jumped in his head, or something's triggered him to go and solve or look at something.
That's it. He solves a crime every episode, but then he has the Walter Goggins character part that sort of like has his part. He could arrest him, but he doesn't. There's like you said, there's that respect between them, but. He's like, oh, well, now you're using faith as your.
Yeah, that's it. He's just infuriated with him. Like, he wants to take him down. He wants to get him out of public. He knows he's doing wrong. As where Walter Goggins' character is like, well, I'm just doing what I do. Like, I'm not technically doing anything wrong that you can see, but I am, but I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about the reason Walter Goggins Boyd was on my villains list.
Boyd.
The only reason he's on my list is because of how good Raylan is during the whole. Because you are literally when you watch it, you are Team Raylan, but you kind of.
That's what I'm saying. There's still something about Boyd you want to be behind it, but
you wait.
But then you get all. But each time he introduces these new sort of the villain of the thing. It's the interaction between him and Raylan. Like
Raylan is like, you're up to no good, and Boyd's like, am I?
Yeah,
I know you're up to go, but then he sort of, I just like his no nonsense.
It's kind of like the Batman Joker thing to it, isn't it? Really,
100%.
But
can you imagine Walter Goggins as the Joker?
He would do a good job. I'm telling you, mate.
If you dick about,
you heard it here first.
If you dick about with Raylan, like there's no.
It's no
like
comeback.
the amount of
Yeah,
times that you don't do it, boy. You know,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
They don't. They kind of just put it back down. Even like the brothers are like,
Yep.
no.
But no, yeah, that's why it's so high on the list because I haven't finished the story. I'm looking forward to it. I'm enjoying it as much as it is, and thank you for recommending it, by the way.
It would have been on my list, but I thought like U.S. Marshal didn't have quite the 3-letter ring. Like,
Well, that's why I was trying to get, with how does it... Because he's not a detective per se,
the
whatnot.
rules, so you might as well just
So-
put him on there.
Well,
Yeah, well,
no, I think it's, I think
He
it
still
counts.
solves crimes.
we had sharks.
That's why it was on there, because of the solved crime
horror
part,
number
yeah.
one. Yeah, we're bending rules.
Why the hell not?
But I mean, he is a lawman. He does
is
solve episodic crimes. He does
Yeah.
the same. So yeah, I think he definitely counts. He definitely counts.
Yeah,
My number 4 might not count, so that'd be interesting.
We'll
But that's it. Number 5.
I got your back.
Nice man. Thank you, mate. Raymond Gibbons, Howard. What are the 2 lists first?
So my main list, the A list, is I've titled this "Eliminate the Impossible."
Okay.
The B list, secondary list, is "Animate the Improbable."
Oh God.
So
Okay.
we'll go for number 5 for "Animate the Improbable." It's a little bit of a play on words. Number 5 is 1987's Dick Spanner, Private Investigator.
I have not seen this.
Never heard of
Any
it.
of you know
Never
it?
heard of it.
Haven't got
heard
a
of it,
foggy.
okay.
I guess he's good at tightening nuts.
Picture a Jerry Anderson-driven futuristic urban setting where a Humphrey Bogart type spanner.
I mean, I'm 100%
You
in
were
on this.
Basically, he's a humanoid spanner who, he fulfills the role of this detective, and he goes on several adventures over the course of several episodes. It's a very, very short series, and I think it was kind of like a passion thing for Jerry Anderson. He said, "I've got this really weird, great idea, and I just want to animate it." When you reflect back on this show, the animation's a little bit shoddy. But it's got a lot of charm about it. And as a kid in 87, 88, 89, whenever I watched it on Channel 4, this was pre-Bravo days. So Channel 4 doing the job for filling that role. It was just good fun. Is he a great detective? No, not really. I mean, I think...
He made the list somehow.
Yeah. He made A list.
He made A-list, Dan, yeah. It's good fun. There's a lot of humour, and again, looking back on it with adult eyes, you realise that a lot of the humour is very adult driven. But yeah, as a kid, I lapped this stuff up. I thought it was brilliant. So yeah, this little plasticine cartoon spanner man knocking about this futuristic American urban city. Just
I need to see this to believe it.
Yeah.
John's listening to this episode, getting a hard on because you said Jerry Anderson.
John, this should be one that I don't think you said.
Jerry Anderson, I'm going to fucking watch this.
Absolutely, yeah, go for it. So
gonna tighten his nuts.
it kind of came off the back of Terrorhawks. It was kind of that era. So we just on Terrorhawks.
Scariest
he
show
was
in the world,
leading
that
into-
is.
Oh yeah, totally.
And it was on.
About that,
It was
didn't
on like a Sunday afternoon
Yeah.
for kids.
yeah, but it was the 80s, man.
I used to have him as toys, and like you could get him just hang him up.
Yeah, I had a little Major Zero.
Could you imagine Zelda hanging up on your wall? Fuck that shit.
Oh,
I brought you a present. I brought you a present. What is it? It's Terrorhawks.
No, get away.
No, they weren't pretty freaky toys. No, you're absolutely right. It's watch it to believe it, because I don't want to spoil it too much. And this is just a fun list, so I'm not going to go too deeply into this. So that was Animate the Improbable. To eliminate the impossible, for my number 5, I'm going for Gene Hunt.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Go on.
He nearly made. We're nearly on the same path there.
So from Life on Mars, and then following on from Life on Mars, he appeared in Ashes to Ashes, which I think, on reflection, is probably the better series. It went on for another series more, but it's only because we were able to investigate the character of Gene Hunt. So for anybody who doesn't know him, he's it's 1973, Sam, and he is this hard-nosed, hard-bitten drunk of I think he's Mancunian, isn't he?
Yeah, he's stereotypical kind of
Stereotypical
police officer of the
northern
time,
police. Yeah, he's
Facts.
sexist, misogynistic. He basically fights crime with his fists. Politically incorrect to the nth degree.
Yep.
You shouldn't like this character, but everybody does. You love Gene Hunt. And at the heart of Life on Mars is Sam Tyler. Sam Tyler is the main character. You should like Sam Tyler, really, shouldn't you? But no, everybody loves Gene Hunt because he steals the show from out underneath everybody's feet.
Yeah. He's the lovable arsehole.
He is a lovable arsehole, yeah. So
he's not the main character.
No.
So I've never seen Life on Mars, so I don't know this.
It's Sam Tyler. Ashes to Ashes is Alex Drake, so it's Keeley Hawes. So it's John Sim in Life on Mars and Keeley Hawes in Ashes to Ashes. So they're the main characters.
Yeah.
It's driven by them. But
John Sim, who played the Master, right?
He was the Master.
Yes, I know John Sim, yeah.
Arguably more famous for... I think Life on Mars, if you know John Sim as an actor. But yeah, so Gene Hunt. I mean, what can one say about him, really? He, again, he fights crime with his fists, and then he goes home and has his oops. Did any of you boys watch Life on Mars?
I watched Life on Mars a couple of times. I never got to finish Ashes to Ashes.
Right, okay.
That was one, I sort of started it, and then I think I was just doing... Because it was on, was it Thursday at 9?
Like a Wednesday or a Thursday.
It was just... It was that
midweek peak time.
I just ended up
8 o'clock
doing
to 9
something
o'clock,
else at that point. It wasn't be at home watching Life on Mars. It was probably just out with the mates sort of thing. So I ended up watching all of Life on Mars properly, but only the one season of the Keeley Hawes on.
So the premise of both of these shows is that...
It's time travel, isn't it?
It's sort of like, is it or isn't it? It's a bit Odyssey.
What drew me to this programme initially, the rebirth of Doctor Who had just come about, and then about a year later, 2006, Life on Mars appears. And from the trailer, the idea that you get is that there's a little bit of a science fiction-y supernatural element to this. Has Sam Tyler travelled back from 2006 via a car accident to 1973? Who knows? So you watch this whole 2 series of Life on Mars to discover... What do we discover?
It's sort of like...
Is he dreaming? Has he time
It kind of
travelled?
leaves you...
Is it another universe?
It kind of makes you you make the decision.
You make the decision, basically. And it alludes to the
I
fact
thought he was sort of in the act, but then it's kind of like...
You kind of believe that he's in limbo. You don't really know where Sam Tyler is.
Is this a Lost situation where he may be dead?
It's very possibly,
I was more thinking that he's either just gone back in time or he's kind of that was sort of my...
Well,
yeah,
that's exactly that. I mean, we talk about TV shows that right at the beginning, it gives you the exposition about what's about to happen in the show. And it says... Am I in a coma? Have I travelled back to 1973? So it's all of these ideas.
It's certain names of places, isn't it? And then it'll end up being a name or something in 2006.
In the present time,
So you're kind of is he overhearing stuff? Is he remembering stuff?
So he's lying in a hospital. So Sam Tyler's lying in a hospital bed, and it's 2006, but in his head he's in 1973. We move on beyond Life on Mars and we go to Ashes. So the locale has changed from Manchester to London. So Gene Hunt, with his little merry band of police officers, has moved down to London. It's about a year or so later. So I think, it's time shifted to 1981. Sorry, apologies. It's time shifted to 1981. And this new police officer has appeared on the scene in the form of Alex Drake, Keeley Hawes. Again, she's been shot. She's been in an accident. She's in a coma. What's happening to Alex Drake? All of a sudden, she's appeared in 1981. So we need to decide what the hell is going on. And you make your way through 3 series and you suddenly realise that Gene Hunt basically is the police officer version of the Angel of Mercy. He's the ferryman, if you like, because they were all stuck in limbo. Sam Tyler died in that car accident eventually. Alex Drake died when she got shot. Gene Hunt is basically there to ferry them from the point of death into policeman heaven. And
is this legit or is this your theory?
No, this is legit. This is actually what this is.
Again, I've not seen it, so
yeah,
but they don't do it in that sort of.
No,
pay the coin.
Not until
Where's
the last 5 minutes of the very final episode that you suddenly realise what the hell is going on.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was very content with this finisher. So to talk about Gene Hunt, but you think that he's this one type of character, but he's not. He's actually he's the type of guy that would want to see people find their final resting place. You think he's an arsehole. He's not. He's actually ferrying them from one point to another to ensure that they get to where they need to be. So he's looking after dead police officers to ensure that they can... I know it sounds... It's very wacky and it's weird and it's out there.
So the crime-solving part...
So the crime-solving part...
No, I'm joking.
No. I mean, it's on point.
The crimes are in
Every
each week.
single
There's like
week,
little,
yeah. Right.
like there's been a robbery or
It's
there's been
crime
a...
of the week. So, yeah, somebody's been shot, something's been stolen, there's a mob boss kicking
It's
off, there's going to be
procedural,
gang
But he's solving
drama.
it as like
Procedural drama,
being
but-
like the 70s. Was it 70s or 60s?
It was the 70s,
70s.
the
He's
80s.
solving it by like, he done it. You
Yeah.
know?
Right.
There's no... He's not really one for due process or...
No,
or-
but the
that's
thing
what
is-
Sam's trying to push him towards.
Cleverly, yeah. So Sam rehabilitates his way of thinking. So what starts off as, well, that guy is wearing a particular type of clothes. He
He's
must
here.
have committed this crime. No, Sam flips it on its head. He brings the 2000s into 1973, and he says, "Actually, Gene, can we just kind of revise the way that we do policing in this era?" Well, what the hell are you talking about, Sam? But yeah, he does it eventually, and eventually Gene Hunt becomes a detective. He actually starts solving crimes through modern policing and modern means and modern attitudes. And that's why I like Gene Hunt so much, because he goes from being one type of character who you do love but you shouldn't, into this sympathetic ferryman. And I love him even more for it, because you know exactly why he's there, what he's doing, and who he's been masquerading as the whole time.
Wow. That's deep.
Yeah.
From a detective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of shoehorning in a science fiction program here. But no, I mean, Gene Hunt as a character, I think it's iconic. Absolutely
Definitely.
iconic. Even if you don't know the
If
show,
he's not,
you know the character.
If he's not, he's Karzar.
Oh, his car's definitely.
He's Karzar. Jeez.
Most definitely.
Cortina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Was the other one a Granada?
Was it? Yeah, Granada.
It was Granada.
Granada.
Yeah. Meaty engines. Yeah.
Oh yes.
But the cars are for another episode, Mario.
Yeah, they are.
That'd be a good episode, actually.
Yeah.
Right. Let's move to the number 4s.
Number 4.
Back to you, Mario, with your number 4, sir.
My number 4 is yet another unassuming grandmother. It is Brenda Blethyn's Vera Stanhope. So I don't know if any of you watched Vera on...
On and off. Not as a rule.
So, yeah.
No clue, mate. No clue.
Sounds boring.
Wow. So Vera is, if you take Jessica Fletcher, make her English and angry, you've got Vera Stanhope.
Okay.
She is a police officer. She is the head of her department. She has a little helper who is actually slightly better at her than solving crime, but she just is a bit too stubborn to take on his advice. Brenda Blethyn plays this kind of Geordie, a hard-nosed grandmother who drives around in a Land Rover Defender that is falling apart but somehow still on the road, and she solves crimes with this attitude. As she goes around, they're normally kind of set up like most of the English kind of dramas of that, or kind of crime dramas of the evening. You know, there's a big murder that's taken place. You see how it's set out in the beginning, and then she's the police officer that's called to solve the crime in the area. She turns up. She has a team behind her that work. One of them is the most ridiculous character. He is like in his 50s to 60s, but he's the IT whiz who's not really an IT whiz. She gives him the computer stuff to do, but he's one finger typing on the computer desk.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, she is. I mean, the whole crew are misfits. So you have like a young bunch of kids and stuff that she sends out to do all the door-to-door stuff. They're kind of just coming up through the ranks. Those that do all the desk work are the older guys, but they're the ones that need to use the computers but don't know how to use the computers. You've got her who's kind of stuck in a generational gap of kind of policing, and she comes across as this hard-nosed kind of doesn't really care, isn't really interested, but actually she's got a heart of gold and she looks after the people around her. So normally when it comes to the victims, there's something. She always twigs kind of early on. You kind of get the idea that she's solved it in her head, what's going on, and she knows who the killer is or why the circumstances have happened or something that's gone on. And at the end of kind of every episode, and it's like I say, it's done like the BBC one, so it's the entire series will be one big crime that she's solving, and at the end of each episode she'll just say something and it'll be a question of like, but I just don't know why they would put a fork on the table when they committed suicide or something like that. And then the next episode you'd realise that the murder had happened or taken place. There's one particular kind of season and it was where the guy had killed his mother, but he'd done it by accident, and he hadn't realised he'd killed his mother. He thought somebody had come into the house. He was suffering from like a dementia sort of thing. He was kind of, and rather than go hell for leather, slam him to the ground and arrest him, she took him under her wing. There was a mental health thing going on, and she took him to one side. Like, she plays out the crimes like really well.
Okay.
And Brenda Blethyn as an actress just holds the whole thing together. She plays the hard-nosed grandmother sort of thing. She's got no family. There's one episode where you find out actually she's from quite a wealthy background, but she dresses like a bag lady. She's got like a big Parker Mac on. She wears like a really weird kind of hat that she always wears all the time. She's constantly kind of being picked up by, driven around in her car by her, second officer that comes around and picks her up. There's an episode where he's got problems at home, and she angrily tells him to go and sort it out as if it is an inconvenience to her.
So it's vectoring the job and stuff.
Yeah, and it's like it's inconvenient for her, for him to have a family life, for her to do her work. But actually, what it's her way of doing is saying, like, just go be with your family, like, it's better for you. But rather than actually say that and come across as being a soft-hearted individual, she goes, will you just go home and get out of my way? And then she goes,
Go sort your shit out.
Yeah, exactly that. And then she kind of gives advice every now and again, and she kind of comes in, she pulls the team together. Just a great character, just a great watch. I would recommend it. Like, I know it's been going now for
How
something
old is
like,
it?
She started in 2011, 14 seasons.
Oh, wow, okay.
They are 6 episodes long, so they're kind of quick and easy to go through, like one episode. You can pick up anywhere sort of thing, any season, because they're not necessarily interlinked. There's not one overarching. It's not like Happy Valley where there's one overarching storyline. So if you come in the second season, you've missed the first season. No, this kind of is. There is a crime of the season rather than the crime of the week, and it's across those 6 episodes that you see the crimes unfold. But also the characters in it that she knows and she sees and she's familiar with, they come into fruition, and you kind of get in a bond with some of the characters as well. I would recommend watching some of them, even the latest ones. Even if you stopped on at the latest series and started watching it from there, they're easy watches, they're fun watches. She sounds boring. Like, if you were to see it, but if you were to watch it on the screen, like, for the first time, not know what it was, and you just see Brenda Blethyn in a Mac on like a picturesque. You think it's Songs of Praise or something.
What channel is it on?
It's some BBC. No,
ITV.
ITV. That's not what I thought it was. Then.
It's worth a watch. It really is. Like, it's entertaining, and it's easy to switch off to, and it's kind of like really kind of flows through that kind of TV detective thing. And she is like one of the best ones the British have ever kind of created. Other than
Obviously done well with 14 seasons.
I think, yeah, it's just really easy to watch. It's really fun to watch as well. I know, like, crime and kind of the nature of these crimes, and it's on quite late because some of the crimes are quite graphic.
Right.
But actually, it's just really nice to watch. And you, despite the nature of these detective shows, the characters in it are what build it up to be a nice kind of feel-good kind of thing towards the end. But also, like we said, the detective character is flawed in this. You don't necessarily like her at the beginning of ever watching an episode with her, but then by the end of the series, you're like, oh, she's actually not that bad. She's quite nice. So yeah, there you go. Vera.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, so I'll give it a go.
I'd give it a go.
It's more than 3 seasons, so I'm up for it.
It's a shoo-in.
Yeah.
That's it.
Nice, mate.
Thank you very much.
Number 4, Chris.
Or number 4. So my number 4 is what I would class as my top, like, police show, like, and it's a UK based one, so kind of like
I don't know where this is going. We're gone.
It's called In the Line of Duty.
Ah, yes.
And
It's not what I thought.
so this for me is my favourite. Like, I think it was 5 or it was 6
Yeah,
seasons.
my wife likes this show. I've never seen it, but
It is-
I would recommend this one as
yeah.
well.
It is really, really good. What I like about this is it's so British. It's like, but not like in a tough way. Like they portray like the police of what I would class as what you'd probably see. So the way they talk to like ma'am and like high rise, the people in charge, and they're saying like all the 3-letter acronyms and stuff, OCGs and stuff. So you kind of pick up all of these little tips, but like it's shot so dark, gritty, and like fast pace. So the overall premise is it's about the anti-corruption unit, and they investigate the police. So they're basically internal affairs for the Brits. So any like money goes missing or there's been a wrongful shooting, these are the people who come in. They're not liked in the police force, but the character who I've chosen is Superintendent Ted Hastings. So for me, unlike other cop shows where they go out and say, go and get me the criminals, a lot of the criminals are either high officials inside the police or they're inside the police, so you have to go through their commanding officer. You can't just go and arrest someone. But if you're just the jobber, the person who's in the unit, you can't go and speak to someone highly. And this is where this guy comes in, because you have to have someone 2 levels senior to talk to someone. But what he is, he's a great scene stealer. Like his dialogue is very witty. And
he feels like a heel sometimes. Like, he really does. He feels like a comedy heel. And you think like he's a little bit simple. Maybe he shouldn't have got the job because he's not that smart. And then he'll sit in an interview and say something.
But it's like season 1, 2. But then he's like, by 2, he realises, hang on, I think I'm actually a really good character here. And then he starts pumping his swagger. Yeah, he starts pumping his like, all I'm after is for bench coppers. And, it's just like, that's all I'm after. He's like, but
with that Northern Irish accent.
Yeah, like that's the twang. He's like, listen here, fella. It's like, but he runs his ship so well, and you kind of like, right. So there are people protecting us about all of these dodgy, because it's all over the news at the moment. You need these sort of people, and he's like a dog with a bone. He doesn't give up.
There's a moral high ground, and he sticks to it, and he's
sticks
up there.
to it to the letter.
But that's the core of the character, isn't it? When you realise a bit of his backstory and why he is the way that he is, because of the oppression that he's experienced in the past.
He goes, let it go. He goes, my name's Hastings. I'm the epitome of an old battle.
He's so good.
But this show, it normally starts like the first episode, the first 10 minutes is giving you the credits, but like normally people will get like if you're not hooked in the first like 2 minutes of this show, you're normally like,
this is because it's normally a crime happens or they're already involved in an investigation, so they're undercover. So the 2 little officers that he's got that work for him, one of them is undercover.
Goes into police as like a new recruit,
right?
And it's like she'll join a firearms unit, but they think she's a new recruit, but she's obviously well and truly established.
She's an expert in her field, so she's good with guns. She's good with all this stuff. She's already there.
She could have been my pick, but
she acts like an absolute newbie, like a clumsy know nothing. And by the end of the episode, like she's got a secret phone that she's calling them up on. She's sending secret messages. It's like spycraft for British police. It's really kind of cleverly done. But her counterpart, the male one.
Yeah.
So he has a really posh British accent.
He's Scottish as hell.
Oh, yeah.
He's a Scottish.
He has the he has the broadest Scottish accent.
I watched him in Vigil.
Vigil, that was brilliant.
It came out. I thought, he's playing No, he's not playing a Scotsman. He is a Scotsman.
But then that Vigil I watched because it was like from the producers or from the makers of it in the line of duty. So so the first season starts with nothing, and then you have like so many unanswered questions.
You've still got one unanswered question still. Like they apparently they're going to do a season of it.
Well, they ended it, and they kind of done me a bit like Game of Thrones, where are you taking the absolute piss? It's still brilliant to watch, but I was not buying
the ending.
So when they kind of said that it's coming back, I was like, right,
you need to do this right now.
Do this.
If you're going to finish it properly.
I remember the last episode was like a big thing. Like,
who done it?
Who done it? Whatnot? And then didn't this morning like spoiler it or something? I can't remember.
This morning spoiled it, but to be honest, like it finishes, and you're like, well, that's not how it finishes, because one of the characters is proclaiming their innocence the whole way, like through that last season, and they're trying to set him up and they're trying to get him done, and like the way it finishes, you're like, well, that's not the ending. That's not happened. Like, it's not real. I don't believe what you just put in front of me.
The thing, without spoiling any of it, the person who they go da-da, you're kind of like, no, I've seen him in a room with other people who are meant to know and he has never once come across like that. Yeah. So I never thought for 1 second that he was
the bad guy.
But the show itself is just so intense, and this character's just on point, and he's every time you see him, he comes in, he's a little bit of a show stealer, and like if you haven't seen it, honestly, can't recommend it enough. Yeah, it's very the British sort of like, I want to say the Shield, but like flipped, reversed, like where they are Dodge, but you know they're always after someone, and sometimes it's not as clear cut as.
So is it like the internal affairs side?
Yes,
right. Yeah, it's definitely the best of British TV. Like, I very rarely watch.
Did you ever watch The Bodyguard?
No.
No. So like, it's got that very, which is like I really like the British grit.
Yeah, it's got an intensity to it. So like, there's always stakes, and it's not necessarily big stakes, like, but it's stakes on the individuals or the police officer or the crime that they're trying to solve.
It does give you a nasty sort of like cliffhanger, like in a good way, like oh you bastards.
Yeah,
and this is a BBC.
They're all
really
I think they're
4 to 6 episodes long. I think.
Yeah, I think they're 6, but they're
per season.
And they all go through
one crime in each.
Each through, but then they all.
But then there's the over arc. Yeah. I don't think that arc starts until like season 2, maybe.
But then there's
3,
there's one like a prominent character that becomes season 5 or 6 in it, and you're like,
oh. Well, there's one scene, I think it's in the final series, where in the first series a character disappears and is stored in deep freeze,
and he comes back later on.
And then all of a sudden, in the very final series, a fridge is opened up, and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, I remember this."
It's really well, and you don't somebody get the head of a British thing who's normally a toff or like that you don't as an audience you don't get behind, but you're so behind this. Every time he's doing an interview, you're like, yes, you just want it to be him. So in the Line of Duty, definitely recommend it.
Good pick.
I'm definitely going to give it a go.
It's an excellent show. Yeah, definitely highly recommend.
Right, how do I follow my number 4 with 2 serious TV shows?
I want to see
whereas mine is completely balls to the walls, not so serious. Right, before you come at me with this, right, I googled this and they do come under as detectives, even though they're essentially not. But my number 4 is 2 people. It is Sam and Dean Winchester from Supernatural. Now, hear me out.
Do they have an investigative capacity?
Yes. Right?
Then I'll allow this.
Supernatural, for anyone who doesn't know about this show,
love this show.
Let's just go to a quick little story about them. Is that their mum died by a demon, their dad...
Yellow Eyes.
Yep, that's it. Yellow Eyes caught them, saw it, and trained these boys to be demon slayers, essentially. Dad's out the picture now, so they're trying to find the demon that killed their mother. Excuse me. But what I love about this and why I picked them is that they are technically like the cops of demons, if you will, because let's face it, every time or most episodes when they know a woman is being haunted by a presence, a demon or something, they always dress up in FBI or detective gear.
Fake police officer. And they always, the names are fucking brilliant.
Yes.
They always use rock star names or names of bands. Like,
exactly.
This is Detective Hall and this is Detective Oates.
That's it. And the thing is that these characters could just storm in there and, do what they need to do. But the good heart of them is like, no, let's try and... not scare these people. Let's try and help them out, and let's look like we're part of some sort of authority to deal with this, whatever. And again, week in, week out, it's a different demon, it's a different possession or something or whatnot until they find the one they're looking for. And I just love the idea of these guys doing that. So, like I said, when this show came out, me and my wife binged this completely. And when I was watching this, I was just thinking. To me, they feel like detectives, or like coppers, if you will. So even though they're not always doing this every episode, but I just love the fact that this is what they're set out to. That this is their job. Like this is what they're like for, as what a real detective would do. So that's why I had to ask you the question about
No, that's fine.
imposing as detectives, even though they still get to solve the case, beat up the bad guy and whatnot.
There is the crime that arches over the entire series until eventually they do get to him, which is the hunt for Yellow Eyes.
Yes,
trying
exactly.
to find out who, why, when. And also then you have in each season there's a different kind of, not I suppose Buffy-esque big bad, but they don't know who the big bad is, who's feeding it all. So yeah, I'd say they're hunting down the big bad of each season, and you have that in-betweeny thing. They always get like a was it a newspaper article or
Always something that leads to it,
or
isn't
someone rings them up and goes, "Oh, there's a legend in this area about a Wendigo or something, and you've got to go and find it and haunt it." Or, "Oh, we've just found some vampires. You need to go and sort out the vampires."
Yeah.
And they have to find them, but then they're always tricked by someone somewhere in it. Like there's a couple of episodes where Dean kind of ends up sleeping with, the big
demon
bad,
girl, isn't it? I can't remember her name now. Yeah,
Great. No, it's not Grace, is it? But yeah, a couple of times he gets caught out by that, and it's then him going back and trying to find out what's going on. But also, they're two different characters, which is like Dean's bitterly flawed because Dean's out for revenge.
it's the brawn and brain thing, isn't it?
Sam's kind of the smart kid, but he's got the heart, and he's kind of like, he really is the brains. He thinks it all through. He overthinks it, as where Dean underthinks it, and the two of them both kind of go at it different ways. Like there's episodes where they've kind of gone, "I don't agree," and they've split off in their own ways, but then they come together at the end.
Yeah,
sort it all
always.
out.
Yeah. But then, but you going back to that whole investigation for looking for Yellow Eyes, I liked how they, like one episode they found the clue.
Yep.
Then 3 episodes later they don't find anything, and you kind of forget as an audience that why they're doing this.
Yeah.
And then there's that little cliffhanger. Yes, now we're back in play. Here's another catchphrase.
I loved as well. Like later on in you get what's his name? The angel.
Gabriel.
Is it Gabriel that comes and joins them? It's
Yeah,
not,
he's
is it?
he's got the detective coat.
Yeah.
It's something like that.
It's
Is
not
it? I swear
Gabriel,
it's
is it? But anyway, he joins them, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's there, and he's dressed like a 1950s detective.
He
and
is,
he's trying
yeah.
to search out the angels.
He's got the
as
Blade
well.
Runner trench coat type thing.
Black coat, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just think it's such a great show. Crowley as well.
Crowley,
who
yes,
eventually
I do
joins
like
them
Crowley,
as well. Yeah, it has like those detective elements, like the informants, because later on Crowley is the one going, "Well, you know that they're a big bad, and if you sort them out, then I can help you out with some more information." Like he's feeding them the information,
Absolutely.
like Huggy Bear from fucking. Like I got you. Here's your little bit. Here's your little nugget. There you go, and off you go. Fix that for me. But yeah, all right.
But
It's
yeah,
a great show.
15 seasons. Great show. Great detectives.
Definitely.
Detectives, sorry.
Oh, I'm going with that one.
Paranormal Investigators.
All right. But yeah, I'll take it. Paranormal Investigators. Howard's. Number 4.
So we're animating the improbable with my number 4, and you've already just mentioned him. It's the legendary Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Nice.
So it's not just Scooby-Doo. It's...
Honourable mention, by the way.
Good. Oh, absolutely. It's not just Scooby-Doo, it's the whole gang. So we've got Fred, Velma...
Mystery Inc.
Mystery Incorporated,
Mystery Inc,
yeah. In the very famous green mystery machine. What a successful group of investigators they are, because they always uncovered the bad guy, and it's always the janitor, or it's always Mr.
And they
Biggins,
would have got
or-
away with it.
And they
Or
would have
the
got
guy
away
that
with it if it
owned
wasn't for
yeah.
these pesky kids. But Scooby-Doo's gone through several iterations over the decades. I think I always gravitate towards the original. It's Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? So the great animated Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
Side scrolling.
Side scrolling, so
Yeah.
everybody's lurching like this and running like this. I absolutely fell in love with Scooby-Doo when I was a kid.
I think we all did.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course we did. Yeah, not so keen on Scrappy-Doo. He can fuck off.
I never really had too much of an issue with it until I got older. And then you're like, yeah, fuck Scrappy.
Fuck Scrappy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what's he
fucking
doing
run up
there?
his ass.
Well, when I became a parent, I realised no, Scrappy's a little sport shit. He can
Yeah,
fuck
100%.
Scrappy is 100% the spoiled shit. I think just as a very successul group of investigators, they had to make my list. I'm not going to talk too much about it because this is just a fun list. Scooby-Doo, the Great Dane, yeah.
I would just throw in
never
there-
cross his path because he's going to get.
Just throw in there, Fred was absolutely shit.
Fred was.
I don't think they could solve fuck all with Fred. Like, if Fred wasn't there, I'm pretty sure they'd still be just as successful.
Fred was like the face, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
Fred was going wherever the girls were going.
Well, who was really? It was Shaggy and Thelma, really.
Thelma,
wasn't it?
yeah. Well, Shaggy by accident, Scooby by accident, but Thelma was the brains.
She was the brain, man.
And Daphne was just, accident. She was fodder.
Female Fred.
She was female Fred.
Yeah.
or she was like the fodder. The literally like, here's the little lure. We'll stick the helpless girl out in front.
She was the bait.
Yeah, she was the bait. And then Thelma's kind of there in the background thinking it all out. I do like the films. I know that the films don't do much.
The films
I like the new
mocked
one,
the cartoon.
with Darth Dudley.
And Linda Cardellini playing Thelma.
Yeah.
I was absolutely fantastic, especially as like she was older than any other member of the cast, and she's playing a character that's technically younger,
The youngest
than
in all of them.
And she still pulled it off. I thought she was fantastic.
The films
in that film.
weren't as bad as people make out, and yeah, they poked a little bit of fun at the cartoon, but they were very gentle with it as well.
Definitely.
People hate them. I mean, I quite.
I like.
I can't think of Scooby Doo at all without thinking of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
in the back.
Doobie Snacks.
That's so good.
So what's on the A-list, sir?
So for the A-list, well, we have to go to Oxford for this. We're going to be looking at Endeavour Morse from Inspector Morse. I first recalled Inspector Morse because it has a very, very subtle but memorable theme tune.
Yes.
It's by and I'm never sure whether I'm saying this name correctly, but it's by a composer who's called Barrington Feilong.
I couldn't tell you.
Don't know, but what drew me in originally. So along with other shows on this list, I used to watch a lot of crime detective investigatory sort of stories with my mum, and this was Sunday evenings.
9 o'clock.
9
Yeah,
o'clock.
ITV?
8, 9 o'clock on
It was 9 o'clock
ITV. So this
ITV.
was always one of the very last things that we used to watch before I went to bed because it was school next day. And I was a very lucky boy because this very early age I used to be able to stay up and watch these programmes. But
So it's Heartbeat, Dialing Bugs and Mate, Inspector Morse.
Inspector Morse, yeah.
The Sunday watch list.
That was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
ITV watch list.
Played by John Thor, who is
fantastic.
an amazing actor. No longer with us, but anything that you can watch him in, he's instantly watchable. And as he really made his mark as Inspector Morse, ably abetted by Lewis, who eventually got his own series
did.
after.
I was going to say, wasn't there like a spin-off or something after that?
John Thor, the actor John Thor died,
Passed,
and then he passed on, but they still wanted to make more of this content. So in the vein of Inspector Morse, they pushed it forward with Lewis. He is a classical music loving, red wine drinking connoisseur.
Real ale connoisseur.
Who
All set in
drives
Oxford.
around in what type of car does he drive
A
around
Mark
in?
II Jag.
And how did I know you would know that?
Because he knows he's the car guy.
He's the car guy, yeah. A Mark II Jaguar. And what a beautiful machine this is.
It is
But
such
all of
an
this,
elegant car as well.
It is, yeah. The character alone would make this program, but with all of these other little elements, these affectations, they really make Inspector Morse a very memorable character. And he kind of investigates the upper echelons of society within the sphere of Oxford learning. So it's always usually set within a university or high society, and you always get the impression that Morse doesn't really want to be there. He's a little bit curmudgeonly. He often gives you the impression that he'd rather just be sat in the pub drinking.
I think some of that is to do with Lewis as well, because he seems to have no time for Lewis.
To begin with.
Definitely to begin with. Like Lewis is a burden on him and his methods, but also like Morse is the tweezers and Lewis is the sledgehammer. like Morse is there, and like you say, he tickles the upper echelons. He knows how they work. He's in those circles. He's cultured, as where Lewis is kind of like he'll go to Greg's and turn up with a sausage roll and a cup of coffee, as where like Morse is going to turn up with a full banquet of cheeses and a cold meats board, a selection of all goods.
And the Daily Telegraph's crossword section.
And half done, asking Lewis, what is a 7-letter word, and Lewis is going to look at him and go, I don't know. cheeseburger.
Yeah, because Robbie Lewis, he's
So again, total opposites, basically.
Yeah. He's your typical northerner. He's from Newcastle, and he's married. He's got family life on the go. And if it was set in this particular time, he would be eating Greggs or McDonald's.
Yeah, his brain is in a different.
Of beer.
His priorities are different. So Morse is kind of like getting ready for retirement. He's kind of slowing down, as where Lewis is kind of like thinking about what he's going to have for dinner, or what he's coming home to. Or he's left the washing on, or the oven on, or something like that. His brain is somewhere completely different. So whenever Morse asks him a question, Lewis is scribbling it down, puts the pad in his pocket, and then will forget about it, and then grab another pad and write another. Do you know what I mean? He's that sort of kind of misguided fool, and that's part of what Morse kind of.
But you get that feeling, especially towards the end of the first couple of series, that he's teaching Lewis. He's trying.
I was about to say, is it like mentoring him in a way?
Yeah, I mean, Lewis is competent enough, but he's very rough around the edges. So like Mary says, you get this cultured Endeavour Morse who wants to bestow his knowledge on him, his years of experience, and all of these crimes that we later learn in this series of Endeavour, where we see a young Inspector Morse. And I forget the name of the actor in that one, but he's very, very good. Remember. Very, very good series. So he's garnered all of this detective experience, and he wants to give it to Lewis, and that's essentially what this series is about. It's about the mentor training the new version of himself,
as well as the crime solving part as well.
So as always, crime of the week, but it's very intelligent. Detective work. You've got your tweezers and your hammer, but they complement each other.
Yeah.
And by the end of the episode, you have followed Morse's style. You've followed the way that he detects, the way that he figures these things out, and it's very considered. He'll go back to his home and he'll sit with a beer, doing the crossword, and all of a sudden, bang! It's occurred to him exactly what
It's one of those weird. We talked about Batman. It's one of those weird moments. You see him in the dark at his own, just like the old traditional green reading lamp in the corner.
Yeah.
Him sat there, maybe with a book, maybe with a glass of beer or wine, and there's opera playing in the background, and then he'll close the book. They'll fade out. And then you'll kind of go to him and Lewis, and he's trying to explain to Lewis what he's had a thought about and where he needs to go and have a look, and where Lewis needs to go and have a look. And Lewis will just look confused, going, "But why do I need to go there when that's the person that's of interest to us?" And it's because Morse has kind of gone just slightly off track, because something in his psyche has gone, what they said to me isn't right, or the clothes that they're wearing don't fit the person, or there's just something that he goes along those lines of. He's a very.
So is he trying to indicate that to Lewis? Then?
Yeah. He tries to give him the nuances, like kind of going, look, if you go and talk to this person and you do that, and there are moments those aha moments where Lewis gets it, and you just see Morse go, yes, very good, Lewis, well done. Now go and sort it. Like very much a dad to a son sort of thing.
Right, I was about to say,
Dad, I've just put batteries in. Well done, son. Now turn the fucker on. It's that sort of situation. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I've given you the tools. I've given you what you need. Fix it. And that's kind of how it works out. I wasn't a fan of Lewis when the series, when it went on after John Ford had gone. I just didn't think it carried on the Morse legacy.
It felt forced, unfortunately. There was nothing wrong with Kevin Whately, who plays Lewis.
No. But I think they tried to make Lewis more like Morse, and I don't think it
was
worked.
kind of like evolutionary steps. Essentially, Morse has died in the world of Morse. John Thor died, so they've kind of tied the two together. And Lewis is called back from wherever he had been positioned. Well, I can't remember where it was.
Teesside. He'd gone back up.
No, he'd gone abroad. So basically, because the first scene is him arriving at an airport, and he's wearing like he's been in Bermuda or somewhere like that. I don't know where, but he's been recalled for Morse's funeral, but he's convinced to stay and essentially takes up the mantle of the new Inspector Morse. A good series, but not as good as Morse. Morse is a considered, intelligent, procedural detective program, and I think. Again, like others on this list, this is why I like this sort of detective work. You can go at it hammer and tong.
Yeah.
You can be a blunt instrument. You can shoot your way out of certain things. I've already mentioned about Gene Hunt. Yeah, he fought with two fists, but by the end of Gene Hunt's evolution, he became more of a Morse-like character. He was seeing the flip side of the coin of how to do things. Well, this is Morse all over. Morse will do it with his brain instead of with his fists.
Nice.
I like Morse.
Excellent pick, sir. Then let's go to the number 3s.
Number 3.
Back to Investigator Mario for number 3, sir.
So my number 3 is from the sunny shores of Florida. He is. Oh, you look like you're really happy. But
Because I think we're going to clash.
I don't think we are. Mine's Horatio Kane.
No.
From CSI Miami.
Nice.
So I love the CSI shows. They are great switch off, watch, crime of the week sort of situation. Later on, they became a bit more than that. Like you would have an overarching villain from start to finish over the series. So it very much in the vein of one of my favourite TV shows ever, which is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yep.
You would have this overarching kind of big bad that went across maybe 1, 2, 3 seasons. So with this, what you'd have is you'd have Horatio Kane and his team of CSI analysts, so crime scene investigators, who would come in and they'd dust down for prints and all this sort of stuff, and you'd see the crime unfold and little bits they'd discover as they went through it. Loads of exposition, loads of explanation about, new kind of forensic science stuff and how they'd investigate it and all that. Horatio Kane was the epitome of cool in this situation. Played by David Caruso, who just played this character so cool. It was unbelievable. He was in Florida in the heat, wearing a suit and looking as if he was permanently air conditioned. This guy with sunglasses on, and he had this way of doing it. His sunglasses would come out the pocket, both the arms would come back, and he'd put them on his head and then strut into the situation.
What?
He was so, I can't explain.
And then always
it.
take it off just in front of the body.
How he used to go.
Yeah.
And then they were like, cut, and he was like, whew.
Yeah, exactly.
He won't look at the camera.
No,
he would
always
just
look
slightly
three quarters are away. Yeah, the character evolved over like the whole thing. So I remember watching CSI Las Vegas or CSI.
It went on for years, didn't it?
Yeah. So 10 years it went on through total.
Wow.
And you're looking at 23 episodes per season, more or less. Towards the end, they are struggling, but the team was just fantastic, and he led it all. And when they became he became character centric, it's when I think it's towards the end of the seasons he gets married to one of the investigators' daughters, sisters, and they become really close. Then she gets killed, and he goes off to look for the guys that killed in the cartel and that, because everything, of course, has to do with cartels. And then he goes across to Cuba and stuff like that. But his character is so calm, cool, collected, because even when he's looking for revenge, he's still just very much like, yeah, we're just going to have to deal with this and deal with it our way. Very calm, very serene, very kind of into it. His commanding style, he was never the over the top, he never looked down on any of his team. He never kind of condescended he was very much a straight, even if he did suffer falls, he didn't suffer them gladly, but he was very good with kids. And that was something that evolved in the series. It happens in one episode where the child is hidden in a cupboard and can't express what happened. So he does the thing with the glasses, that 3/4 kind of look off the camera, takes the glasses off, comes down to the child's level, and in a soft voice starts engaging the child and trying to get the information out of them. Doesn't patronise them, doesn't do that child voice that, you sometimes, you even feel yourself doing it.
My name's Detective Murtaugh.
Yes. Can you say detective?
Yeah.
Do you know what I do? You kill black people. Oh, for God's sake. But no, he's very much kind of that calm, he's very much that calm, considerate kind of. He comes down to their level. He talks to them at a level as if they're an actual person, and they kind of open up to him. And it's a theme through the entire thing. Like you see, Callie DeCane, who you detect essentially I'd quite like to talk to Callie DeCane, but you'd have that conversation with them, and she'd be trying to talk to the kids, and she's like, I don't know what to do. I've got no idea. And then he'd come in, the glasses would come off, and then he'd come down and go, so what'd you like to do? And what's your name? I'm Horatio. This is my team. I'd like to know about the bad things that happen. And then the kid would just kind of let it all out, just blurt but also like his skills in the lab and everything else like that. And he'd also reason it out with his team. So if his team came to him with a problem, he'd be the one going, well, have you tried doing this, or have you looked at it another way, and just switch them around? And that kind of shows like a great team leader.
Yeah.
Like I get that, you know, you want to solve it yourself, but he was all about his team solving it as well. So he would only interject when he needed to interject. It's very rare that you'd see him kind of turn up, put the gloves on and get involved. He would turn up, ask his team kind of what they found, what you know, where they've gotten to, and then from the end of that, he'd then come back and go, yeah, so it was the cook that did it. You know, it's pretty obvious because this and this all adds to this, which means they did
So
it.
it's like he takes a bit of everything and makes up himself.
Very much.
He feels more of a copper in like it.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Compared to the other.
The others all
characters,
seem like the
they
scientists,
are crime,
and he
crime lab, but he seems more like
a police officer.
Police officer in that.
Yeah, definitely so. Because
he plays the same part as the other two.
He does,
but he just comes across more of a.
Because Gary Sinise is the scientist in CSI New York, and then I forget the character's name in
Patterson.
Yeah, in Vegas.
Yeah, Gil.
Yeah, Grissom. Grissom's very much like almost on the spectrum kind of thing. He's all about insects and how you can use different
like
techniques.
Asperger's,
yeah, he can't associate with people, as where Horatio Caine is able to kind of distinguish people characteristics, and he can separate everything out from each other. And I just think he's such a good kind of easy watching. It's not like intense. It's not like Morse. It's not like, you know,
it's an easy
Vera.
watch. Yeah.
It's a really easy switch off, watch, and enjoy it. The special effects on it were always great. Like whenever they go into situations where someone's been beaten or something, and they try and recreate how they were beaten or how they got dropped or something.
Oh, like a reenactment sort of thing.
Yeah. And they would have like, so say someone got shot in the head or shot, but it was done from a specialist angle or something. So the bullet doesn't make sense. They would then recreate that, and you could see it in slow motion.
The lines.
Computerized effects as well. So you'd see like the bones breaking, but in a dummy. So you'd have like you know, like Mythbusters, so they have like the gel
jellos.
dummies. Yeah, they make something like that, and then in slow motion with computerized effects, you'd see the bullet kind of enter the gel dummy.
Yeah.
And you'd follow the bullet, and you'd see the bones cracking. Then you'd see like in the magic bullet, you'd see it bounce around inside the dummy in the gel casing, and you'd be like, so that's how that did what it did, and how you ended up where you got to, and why the bullet was like in the opposite side of the wall to where it should have been, or and stuff like that, and then chemical stuff as well. Like I don't think anyone would know anything about, you know, the chemicals they use to show up blood and stuff if they didn't have these shows. And Horatio, I think, is just like such a great character.
See, out of the three, he was the weaker one for me, but the setting of Miami, it's like the way that Dexter does it, having the killings in the sun, and what they could do, it just makes it has this vibe to it. Whereas what I like with Miami, sometimes if it's in the swamps, I love a swamp or a gate, or you know, like
there's
that stuff that you can only get in. It becomes a character. The
swamp, the whole outfit. There's an episode where there's a plane crash.
Yeah.
And they're investigating the plane crash in the swamps, and they've got to get there quick because the heat, the humidity, plus the alligators.
Oh, yeah.
And it's sinking. It just,
And like there's survivors, but there's also kind of something sinister's happened to make this plane crash, but also there's bodies that don't make sense. Like there's more bodies than there were passengers on the plane, and there's all this sort of stuff.
Right.
And it's how they piece together. Actually, the plane wasn't necessarily the thing. The plane landed on top of something, or the plane has uncovered some bodies that were buried in the swamp. Like it's a whole thing, and it's very cleverly done. And Horatio's the kind of character that brings all of his team together to work out all of it. And what tends to happen in most of the episodes is you have one connected crime to about 3 different techs, and then one crime that is independent of all of it. So you have all of them working on their own separate ones, but actually they're all connected, and then one where it's like, oh, this is independent of everything else. It's just immaterial, and that's kind of like your red herring. So you're thinking all 4 of these things are connected. Oh, actually, this one is just your red herring in amongst it all, and he works that out as well. Like he's the one that pieces all of them together, going, no, that's your problem, that's our problem. So yeah, I like Horatio Caine.
Oh, nice.
So number 3.
Interesting pick.
Nice.
Again, I never watched them.
yeah.
I know they were big because like didn't Quentin Tarantino get involved in one of them or
he
something?
done some in the Vegas. The problem that you've got is that because I've got season like 1 to 10 of most of them, and it's kind of like
same.
It's 24 episodes a season, so it is like a
It's like 24.
There's a commitment. It's like
it's 24 episodes a season. If you actually want to work it all out, like the format, it is a procedural, but it's a switch-off procedural. Like you can work out the killer from the offset if you're clever enough, or even if you're looking for it.
Guest starring.
Yeah, guest starring. There's your villain. Yeah,
it's normally he either comes in, or if you notice, he just walks up in a suit in a it's him.
Yeah.
I think Roger. I can't remember whether it was Miami or
Roger Daltrey's
in one. Well, you know damn well that he's going to
be
the guy.
So you've also had like Ted Danson.
Yeah.
You've also had.
He was awesome in Vegas.
He was definitely. He was a good replacement for Grissom. Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes.
Was one. It was
right.
He played a whole season with him in it as well. You've had loads of stars come into it. Loads of stars from it as well.
The girl from Back to the Future.
Yes.
Leah Thompson.
That's it.
No, not Leah Thompson. Who was in Heroes? Not Heroes. Sorry, it was in The Boys, first season.
Elizabeth Shue.
And she was really good in it as well. But it's not intricate. It is quite an easy kind of sit. If you wanted to put something on, not have to pay too much attention to it, but still follow an entertaining story.
It's definitely worth a watch. But I'm so glad I watched it.
Yeah,
when it was like new season of CSI, boom, 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 and it was like you got this one, and then the next one's coming out, and then
I think if you binge watch it, you'd be overloaded.
And then you get
quickly.
and then they start to get the murder who's just crossing state lines. You're just like, oh shit, it's kicking off in each one of them.
The first 2 seasons are normally like villain of the week. Here's your format, and then from that point forward, you've got there's a murder happens. They think they've solved it. And then you get to the end of the season. And in one of them, I think it crosses like 3 seasons, and they get the killer in like the first season. You're like, yeah, it's sorted. But the murders still happen. And you're like, but the proof was there. We saw it all play out. And then 3 seasons in, you're like, oh, shit, he had a daughter. Oh, shit, he had a daughter.
Okay.
Yeah. And it all kind of pegs in. So there's all stuff like that. It's really clever.
Nice.
Good choice.
Good pick, mate. Over to Heisenbyrne for number 3 then.
Okay, well, so we're coming across the pond now.
You are coming across the pond now,
across
nice.
the pond, and it's Officer Bar Brady.
Oh.
No. What the hell? No, it's not. We are going to Quantico, and we are going to the BAU.
Oh, who are we going with?
Right, I'm in an R-in, and I was going to go for, like... I'm going for like Dave Rossi.
Okay, Rossi's good.
So
there's a lot of blank
So what show
faces
is this,
around
sorry?
here.
Criminal Minds.
Okay, right.
Criminal Minds. It's basically the
Not a clue. But go for it.
Criminal Minds is Mindhunter,
But dumbed down.
but it's now Mindhunter. It's
It's your CSI version.
So it's basically, you know how
Okay.
they started to do the criminals, and they're looking into the behaviours, and they're doing
So the BAU is the behavioural analysis
behavioural
unit.
analysis unit. So they're looking into the psyche of serial killers, and they're doing like profiles, and they're saying he's going to be a white man, he's going to be a 6 foot.
So when you watch Mindhunter, they set the precedents for kind of.
They were the
like,
guys who started to actually
that's
investigate.
it.
Yeah, this is the serialized and kind
Version
of
of
Hollywood
it.
version of Mindhunter.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
if you think about it, Mindhunter goes through like actual events. As where this uses those actual events to
They
tell
would
the
say,
stories
like,
of the individual crime of the week.
Right.
Dharma would do his victims,
Yeah.
but then each case, I'm guessing, would be very similar to something that's happened in America. So this could only happen in America because
Yeah,
they just
so
seem to be
vast.
completely fucked up.
Yeah.
Like you compared to what people being killed over here to like serial killers, they just seem to be so, well, I mean, it's massive over there. So but it's all about, it's dark, this one. So it started off being really dark.
Yeah.
Because my mind's gone completely blank. Who was the first guy?
I can't remember now, but he was very much like his family get attacked by one of them, don't they? Towards the end of his existence, I can't remember.
Because it's going to be my choice, and it's just gone completely blank when you went. Who are you going to pick? And I was like, well, I can't even think of his name now. It's like, I'm gone.
Don't think about it, and it'll come back.
No, but
but Rossi's character,
I've got to get it up now because it's going to just drive me nuts. So this thing is just, it's the way that they each case. It's a different way of solving the murders because it's not you get the evidence, but they're turning up. They're not really in the evidence. They're in the behavioural science. So it's kind of like they're just pushing. They always push in the right way.
Yeah.
They always go in the right direction.
But they always change it, don't they? So you get the crime at the beginning, you're like, oh yeah, so this is very similar, like you say, to like Dharma and something. You sit there and you go, okay, so that means that the person has daddy issues or mummy issues, and we're looking for a 20-year-old male who has this. And then 3/4 of the way through the show, they will then suddenly go, no, because we found something wiped on the shirt. Actually, he's a mechanic, so he's practical and he can do this. So actually, he's frustrated with this or has some sort of a disability or whatever, or he's got a scar that he doesn't like, so he's scarring his people that way. We didn't see it in the first one because their face was so badly mutilated, and they're going
it's
to
basically Red Dragon, how they track him down. Like he's going to be a mummy boy. He's going to have disfigured. They know exactly what they're looking for.
See, I'm a dirty little beast.
Jason Gideon. Gideon was going to be my pick, but he was series 1 to 3,
and then disappears.
He left because he couldn't take how violent it was towards women in the show.
So how many seasons was it then?
There's like 15, 16,
18, I think.
And now we're on to the Disney one, which I think it's like, but it's good.
Yeah. It's now got better.
Because the thing was, like series, I want to say 1 to so series 3, Rossi comes in, who's Joe Mantanga, who's the voice of Fat Tony.
Yes.
From The Simpsons.
Nice.
So he comes in to replace.
I can't remember the character's name.
Replace Gideon because he's gone off. He's left. Rossi is basically semi-retired. He's written 3 or 4 books about serial killers he's caught.
He's the standard by which they work to.
He comes back to the BAU. So the first 8 series, it's more let's chase it down. He has this thing where he wants to do it on his own, and he's not part of a team. And then you see his growth and his art, and then at the end of it, it becomes a family man. I mean, he has his... doesn't all end up well for him, but it's like he has this arc, and it's the trust he starts to have in his team.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it started to lose its grittiness, because it started to get a bit more family orientated and less more unsubby.
JJ becomes more kind of family orientated and less.
Hotch left.
Yeah, Hotch left. Well, Hotch had to.
Had to forced to leave.
Yeah, forced to leave the show due to anyway. But then the other characters in it kind of come into their own. Is it not? It's not Paget Brewster, is it? I can't remember the actress's name. But she's really good at it, and she starts out as kind of like a non-entity, like you hate her, and then slowly she evolves into a character that you kind of like.
Most cop shows there's like it happens, the murder happens, and then it's a case of who's done it. This is like we need to catch him because he's going to keep
because murder 1 happens,
murder
and
1,
then murder 2 happens,
and then number 3. It's kind of like you just see him end up doing multiple murders across these things. Some of them are really, really kind of like violent and stuff. But like the latest series where they had like the murder kits for serial killers.
They created a website or a secret website
during COVID and lockdown that like serial killers were going nuts because they couldn't go out and murder anyone, and they tapped into these like. He made like murder kits for like during
here
lockdown.
are the rules. This is what you need to do. This is your style. So here we've hidden a container. In this container are these boxes.
How much is an evil bastard was Mark Hamill?
Oh, he's a fucking nut.
That one where he comes in is like the home intruder.
Yeah.
And it's like
Luke Skywalker.
So you see Luke Hamill, so you know instantly he's not coming unless he's fucking around as the bad guy.
Yeah.
But he's not Luke Skywalker. He's not even close to being.
He is. So if he was to play the Joker as himself, this is the kind of Joker. He is sadistic. He is.
He's only
violent,
in it for like a few episodes. He's not in it, but like there is like each episode of a week, monster of a week. But then you'll have someone like Rossi will have a guy that he's not been able to catch for like
there's always
one like in his cold cases that he can't get rid of, or everybody has their cold case killer, or that's normally
something that's happened in their
underlying sort of that keeps you. So you have your unsub for each week, and then you have the underlying pattern. But it's the dynamic between him and the team, and he just becomes such a great character from being very standoff to being pretty jokey and having a bit of a laugh and like.
Becoming part of a team, he evolves from being kind of like I've had enough of this shit, I don't even know why I'm here, to come on team, let's go for drinks. He really does change his tone. Like they become a family by the end of it, where they're all living out of each other's pockets more or less.
Because it like you say, it gets up to 18 series, but you're like, I mean, 50. You're still going. You're not going. Well, this is shit. You're just kind of you watch him, and then at the end of the season, you go, well, that wasn't as good as the last season, if you know what I mean.
It's almost like Apple phones. Like, so you get one phone, it's really good. The next iteration, you're like, oh, it's not that great. And then the next one, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then the next one, oh, well, yeah. And then the next one is like, oh, it's really good. Like they kind of hit, miss. But the overriding arch is really good. Like I can't remember her name. I keep saying Paget Bruce, but it's not Paget Bruce.
Is that JJ or
no? It's
Prentice.
Prentice. She has this arc where she was an undercover FBI agent, and she gets caught out as one of her undercover aliases is uncovered by a gang. So she has to try and hide that she's an FBI agent while she's investigating a crime as an FBI agent.
Wow!
And, with the team around her referring to her as her actual name, Prentice, and actually like she's trying to hide it. But also she has another thing where like she's the daughter of a quite high up in the government kind of, she's like a senator or something, and her mum's kind of, the impression that the team get is that she was basically bought into the team, like her mum paid for her to get into the team or pulled strings for her to get the position that she's got, when actually she did actually earn it, and she went by a fake name to get where she was. It's all quite like each of the character developments is quite good.
The good thing about this is also it starts off in like Quantico in like is it Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And then it would be like, oh, the murders happened in Washington, or the murders happened in Florida.
Wheels up in 20.
Wheels up. And like each episode, they end up going to a new town. So you're not always in the same.
It's not the same vicinity all the time.
So you get like different sort of locals. So you get like redneck kicks, and you get like town folk, or you get city folk, or you get like big business conglomerates.
Yeah.
They're not letting anybody in. And it's kind of like, it's a long slog to watch. But it's but they're not. You just any episode you could just like, if it was on, I'll just watch this.
Oh yeah, it's almost like an anthology. As long as you kind of see the beginning,
just the beginning of the episode, you can see the first murder, and then it.
So I'm tying you down. Who's your sleuth?
What's that?
Who's your detective?
Rossi.
Detective Rossi.
Just double check.
Special Agent Dave Rossi.
I'm just hammering down the rules.
No,
here,
so he, like I said, because it would have been Gideon, because he turned up in just a jeans and a t-shirt, Harvard lecturer, and it kind of like, and it really, when I first saw it, he really pushed this criminal science, but he left, and then someone needed to come and fill the void, because he was pretty much. It only just started going.
And Rossi is the sounding board for a lot of their issues. Like he's the guy that will sound it out. He'll talk it through.
And he's got this really kind of cool, suave.
He's got Italianness. He leans into the Italianness.
No, was it Joe Montagna?
Yeah. So like, he just plays his nice old granddad, but then if something happens to him, he can go really flips.
He does go Fat Tony quite often. There are moments where you hear it in his voice and you're like, I know that. Why do I know that? And then it twigs. He's a gangster. Yeah,
but it's the dynamic of like, because he can think like a serial killer, and it's quite a twisted way of thinking, if you know what I mean. It's like a dark place to be living if you're always in that sort of dark thoughts. You know, I couldn't think of doing that.
There is an episode where he sees one of the killers that he's caught, and the killer is then his sounding board for him hunting another killer. So the killer sits next to him and he goes, "Well, you never caught me." So it's how he thinks the killer looks, but you know who this killer is that he's hunting, and it's the killer that you see, but it's how he sees that killer. It's really bizarre, but he's sounding it off with his own psyche, which is him sounding off to how he thinks the serial killer is.
Because without him in there are a lot of weak characters, and there's been a lot of like fodder shit come in, and it's only for the Hotches and the Rossies who kind of hold Prentice and Jake, like the ones who would come in for like
they hold the intelligence together.
Yeah, Love Hewitt come in for she was shit, and it was just kind of like,
Jennifer
but it doesn't. They never did enough to kind of take away from the show. You know, it was always enough to keep the show going. And if you want a different sort of like murdered whodunit sort of a real different way of seeing a different sort of cop show, definitely check out Criminal Minds.
I thought this was your episode. These two are nailing it.
I'm just leaving them to it, mate. Honestly,
I hate being after this guy now. I can't follow it.
Criminal Minds is just an easy watch, same as CSI. If you wanted to watch any episode or jump
it
on,
literally come out probably about.
I've added it to my list.
4 or 5 years after. So that's why I was already into the CSIs, and it's gone, Criminal Minds is coming out, and then it's like all of these.
Yeah.
And then like a lot of it started to kind of like, fuck me, I can't watch them all.
But you could try.
We could goddamn try.
Tag, you're it.
That's it.
Head out loud. Right, let's go to Sunday nights again.
Oh.
Because there's always a Sunday night crime dramas run for some reason.
Always.
This one with a sci-fi twist.
Ooh.
So, of course, Sunday night on Sky One at 9 o'clock, I've picked another duo, Agents Mulder and Scully.
Oh, did you know?
Yeah. Obviously, the X-Files, but as the characters themselves, Agents Mulder and Scully. How can you not
FBI
have them
agents.
on the list? Yeah. Or the Simpsons version, FBI, and he's got the sexy photo of him underneath. But yeah, so like I said earlier on, I didn't really grow up watching detective shows, whatnot, but this was so big in the 90s. This was the one show that I always look forward to. And mum, like you were saying earlier on about staying up late and your mum would let you out. This was the one that they would let me stay out for because, and I kid you not, I think my parents got Sky just for X-Files.
Yes.
And because it was so huge at the time, and it was never coming to British TV channels at the time.
Not for years.
For years anyway. But this was the one you look forward to, and this was the one where, as a child, I watched it for the cases. But when I rewatched it, I watched it to see how they were worked as detectives, and I didn't see this before as a kid because you just see them as the duo, but they are very opposite one another. Whereas Mulder's the believer, Scully's clearly not because she always questions.
It's science and faith, isn't it?
Exactly,
It's church and science sort of thing, where the two collide. And
Even after she's abducted by
Yeah,
aliens,
she
still
still
doesn't believe.
not a believer.
Yeah, but like, was she? Like, you know, she
was. Don't give me that.
But no, that was another thing because she left for a while, then he left for a while, and that's when I kind of stopped with it because that's when they changed it over and whatnot.
Robert Patrick came, and for me, I was like, it's a bit.
Yeah.
It
The
was
dynamic changed and something about the show changed.
Because I think without Mulder and Scully, you don't really have X-Files.
No.
You
gotta have both of them.
Yeah, you got to have, and the show itself has so many memorable villains. And so many
Smoky Man.
Smoky Man.
Toombs.
Oh, Christ. Toombs.
Eugene Toombs.
Oh, that guy just freaked me out. Like the yellow slime left everywhere that he climbed through. And so many kind of twists. And I think it all spawned the whole look into paranormal activity and UFOs and stuff like that from this show.
Well, you probably don't get Supernatural
No, you
without
don't, yeah.
how
You probably
good-
don't get a lot of shows
How
about
good-
X-Files
yeah.
in today. This was the one that really kicked it off for everything.
Yeah,
but I don't
definitely.
remember it being like this was the Winchesters. They were trying to find their killer. I don't remember this being. It was literally just a day in day out.
He was trying to find
His sister.
Do you remember?
That was it.
He got abducted
That's right.
when she was 6. And I'm gonna find her.
That's it. Yeah, you're right.
Well, he thought he did, I believe. He was constantly looking for that. He was always remembering stuff about his parents in the past and the smoking man,
No, he's a great character.
who turned out to be like a mate of his dad or something when you go back through it.
Yeah.
Scully used to have like because she turns out she was an experimenter herself and stuff like that, so she would have memories and stuff, and she was science like that. I remember like if we go through the whole investigation thing, he was the one that would sit there with the pad and paper, writing it down, working it all out that way, and then he would give her the evidence to go and chop up and analyze and use the science of the labs to kind of find out exactly what it was from, how it worked, what it did. Like the black goo that came in later where it was controlling people, that was alien goop, that was, I think it was venom technically, but it was
Symbiont.
Yeah. It was, but all those sort of things. And the labs that they would come across, that the government were creating the GM foods, which was the big scare in America at the time. And they were actually going to farms where the bees were being genetically modified, and it was a great kind of all the myths. It was an adult version of Erie, Indiana. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was actually going to lead to that. To be honest, yeah, you're quite right. Because one was trying to find the evidence
of myth or
it.
legend. They kind of like, we could the Blair Witch or something. We can do a story on that. And what I liked was depending on who sort of. If Mulder's just there watching it kind of, he's seeing it as this.
Yeah, but that was always the case. He always did see it, and Scully was always doing something, or she was knocked out, or whatever.
Or like when she's walking,
it got so aggravated.
She doesn't see
just
it
believe Scully
as that much, Yeah, no.
But no, literally on there because it was the one show I looked forward to, and look forward to seeing these characters. So it had to go on there. They were number one. But then I actually remembered something else that I really, really enjoyed. So it got bumped way up to number 3. But won't go too much detail into it. So we'll go to number 3 for Howard. What's your B side?
Animating the Improbable. This was a character that I grew up with. You talked about Super Ted a few weeks ago. How this kind of shaped your childhood.
Threw him away like a piece of shit.
Threw him away like a piece of shite. This one pretty much shaped my childhood as well as a cartoon, and it was voiced by David Jason.
Yes.
Fame. It ran from 1981 to 1992, I believe. And it is, of course, Danger Mouse.
Yes! I'll give you an extra point if you can name the bad guy.
Baron Silas Greenback.
Nice. Well done.
Baron Silas Greenback.
Do you know what? We always talk about it at work and no one can ever remember his name.
and the Crow. Like, it was just called Crow.
Was it Crow?
Was just Crow. Yeah. Colonel K, who was the head of the Secret Service.
Yep.
So basically, Danger Mouse is James Bond by any other name.
Lives in a postbox.
He lived in a postbox,
It's his TARDIS.
That was always a bit Batman-y for me because obviously they flipped out.
And the flying car.
And the flying car. Brilliant. I mean, that flying car was brilliant.
Penfold,
voiced by the famous Terry Scott.
Yeah.
Such an enjoyable cartoon. And not so memorable bad guys. I mean, you had Crow. What was the name? I can't remember. There was a name of a character, and he had like an Italian-sounding name.
I know the one. I can't remember his name.
Can't remember. They've recently did a remake. And do you know what? I actually love the remake.
I haven't watched it.
I haven't seen it. I didn't know there was a remake.
It's got very modern humour, and it's very faithful to the original. The animation is great. Obviously, the voice actors are changed a little bit, but it now pokes fun at itself, and it's very, very humorous. So for the remake, go check out the remake. But for the original, again, I think. This was like the first TV show before CITV and not CBS, before BBC.
It came out way early, didn't it?
It was like 3:30, so it was technically that.
You only got to see it if you were sick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You wouldn't get home from school in time.
There's no way of getting all the dentists, and you got home like that magic half hour. Like, fuck me.
I didn't know this.
Let's get my Danger Mouse on.
But that's the thing in my time, right? So that's the stickers I would get would be Danger Mouse stickers from the dentist.
Yeah.
So I come home with this big Danger Mouse sticker, like you said, from the dentist, and then
we know where you go.
Oh, Toxic Heavy.
Yeah, Toxic Crusaders fucking.
Toxic, amazing.
I used to have the Acme bomb that used to sort of tick down with the credits and stuff like that. But an enjoyable cartoon, and
most definitely.
Again, like all of these cartoon detectives, he had like 100% success rate. I mean, absolutely amazing. You can't beat these guys. So for the A-list,
Well, that wasn't the A list.
That wasn't the
No, that was the B list.
It is Jessica Fletcher.
No, that was the B list.
It is Jessica Fletcher.
Nice.
Sorry, mate.
Very much reminiscent of sitting down with the family at a certain time of a certain time of day in a certain week. And watching these TV programs. But Jessica Fletcher, much like the person that appeared on a Sunday afternoon, was very much a staple of my TV viewing pleasure when it came to TV detectives. A cool character, and I was very lucky to watch it from the very beginning. And I believe, and I'm trying to force my memory here, the very first episode was called "The Death of Sherlock Holmes."
It was indeed.
Yeah, The Death of Sherlock Holmes, and what a title! So of course you're going to watch.
It's like Move Over Sherlock. There's a new
Move
one.
Over Sherlock, yeah, and that's kind of what it was like. And you suddenly realise that this amateur novelist, she was an amateur novelist. She became She became J.B. Fletcher, this big novelist in the end, and everybody respected her. But to begin with, she was nobody, just this busybody that moved around in certain circles in Cabot Cove, in New England, and. She all of a sudden she was propelled. She suddenly realised that she had a talent for solving crimes, for solving deaths, and I think other aspects that I liked was the rolling cast of characters that we had as well. We had the Doc, what's his name? Eric Wyndham. I can't remember. And of course Tom Bosley as the sheriff, who later went on to do other TV shows. But it was just an enjoyable show for a Saturday afternoon, pre the A Team, I think, wasn't it?
It was, yep.
Yeah, so
that's what I was watching. That's what I was waiting for. So it was like, it was at a time when, for some reason, somebody had said TV rots your brain, and so all parents would limit the amount of TV that your kids could watch, and it'd be like Sunday, Mum, can I put a TV on? Oh, what are you going to watch? The A Team. The A Team's not on for another hour. Oh, I just want to put and then on would come Murder, She Wrote. Yeah,
and it was a great show. Yeah, I can't add to anything else that Mario said because these boys have taken over this podcast this week.
On that note, then let's go to the number twos.
Number 2.
Back to Mario with number 2, sir.
So I'm going to repay the favour. H took my number 2.
Oh,
and it was Endeavour Morse.
I was waiting for you to say the spanner.
Yeah, it's the spanner.
Animated spanner.
And it's Danger Mouse. No, it's Inspector Morse. I love this show.
okay.
So I got into Inspector Morse through my nan, believe it or not. And it was one of those shows that I wasn't able to stay up and watch. It was the murders in it were quite graphic for the time, like a lot of blood.
Very adult in its tone. It wasn't light and fluffy murder.
No, you would see kind of like someone getting beaten. You'd see someone getting shot. You'd see someone getting stabbed. You'd see all those incidents, and it was quite graphic. So for me, at that age, it was quite harrowing when it first came out. It was only later on, so I stayed with my nan for a little while when my mum was ill, and she would watch it. It was part of her, Sunday evening watching, and I just wanted to stay up. So I sat on the sofa and I played my Game Boy, and it was on, and the Game Boy went down, and I got really interested in it. And from that point forward, I really liked Morse, and that led into my teens, early teens, and then after John Thor died, like I say, it just kind of it lost its way. But at that point, I'd grown so attached to John Thor as Morse that there was no one else that could play or take over from that character. Rightly so, he was just such a great kind of detective, a mentor, a father figure to.
It was
to
intelligent
Lewis,
storytelling. We've talked about certain types of films as well, like the older style films where it tells a story as opposed to you. I love Michael Bay, but as opposed to Michael Bay films, where it's this big flashbang.
Yeah.
This was the same, and it actually told a linear story where the detective work was kind of in the background because you're looking at Morse as a character and his relationship with Lewis and the other people around him, and you just get invested in his background and the way that he lives his life more than anything.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what embodies Morse. Is the writing is absolutely outstanding. Colin Dexter, I think, is the writer, isn't he?
It is a series of books as well. In the books, he doesn't have a Jaguar. I can't remember what he has, but I know he doesn't drive around in a Jaguar.
No, what was it?
I
can't remember.
It is an older car and it is a flashier car, but I can't remember what it is. But yeah, he's obsessed with like opera and Wagner and stuff like that, and he listens to a lot of it during the car, and it centres him. And I think is very early on, there's an episode where he's in the car, he's got the windows up, there's opera playing, and then Lewis comes to the window and knocks on the window of the car, and just closes his eyes. The opera plays out. He turns off the stereo, unwinds the window, and goes, "What do you want now?" It's just very much like your dad or your teacher. You've interrupted them in the throes of what they were doing. I just really like Morse for like his realistic character. Maybe not the way he solves crimes, but definitely like his character. He was very slow, kind of very slow burn, but very nice, easy watch. Well, I say easy watch, but very kind of. He himself was somebody that you wanted to be around, but probably who wouldn't want to be around you.
No, he wasn't a people person.
No.
But he for somebody who used to take a step back in his later years and let Lewis do all the kind of the donkey work, he used to get stuck in. He used to get his sleeves rolled up. What's really ironic about the character of Morse is that historically John Thorpe was always known as Regan from the Sweeney.
Yes.
So again, it cut in
That's
the
what
same.
I was trying to think. He's in something
Yeah, he's in
else,
something
and I
else
was
as
like,
a
He's
detective,
cut from the
yeah.
same stone as
Crime
Gene
Squad, yeah.
Hunt. So he used to swear and he used to drink, and he wasn't so much a womanizer or anything like that. But yeah, he was your archetypal type of 70s copper.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's literally just flipped the archetype on its head, and now, he's this serene.
A granddad character, more or less.
Yeah, he's a granddad. Basically.
But yeah, such a great character, such a serious character. A great detective in the realms of all detectives. I think definitely deserves his place on the pantheon. He was definitely there. But yeah, so that was my number 2.
nice. Short but sweet on that one.
that
Let's
was
go
nice
to
and
Chris
easy.
for his number 2 then.
Right, so my number 2, it's sort of kind of been spoken about on the verge, but I'm going across to Las Vegas.
Hey.
And I'm going for Gil Grissom.
Yeah.
So CSI Vegas.
CSI Vegas. This was what I was saying about. There was a time, I think it was about the time that Sky changed its interface, and you got it was like the blue screen. And everything.
The digital, when digital first came in.
Beehive Bedlam.
Yeah.
What a game!
Oh, it was a great game.
A game that shouldn't have been there, but it was.
Yeah. It's just a rip-off of Bust a Move, isn't it? Not Bust a Move. Bubble Bobble, sorry.
That was it. But yes, too many hours playing on that when you should be watching CSI. No, so this one, it was like a new interface, and Sky tried to rebrand itself, didn't it? It started to pump these new shows. Sky One was like, you've got to have Sky for Sky One for all the programs.
Yeah, like 20 new channels, Living, Sky Crime,
and then
Classic.
it's like, then like Virgin were like, "Oh fuck you, we want Sky One." And it's like, well, it's new Sky Atlantic, and it's like, let's put everything back on Sky Atlantic.
Because cable had gone by then. It was like, it was only Sky Digital then.
This is a program started in 2000, so I think this was probably the birth of like the cop shows again for me, because obviously not really watched the Morses or anything like that. So it was like had this new like glossy feel.
It was different.
It was different. It was edgy. It was sexy.
Yeah.
It was like bright lights. And because it was Vegas, it was somewhere I've always wanted to go. And it's like the way that they can do the murder settings either in a casino. Or, it's like I like the setting in.
There's a lot of talk in like Batman world where Gotham is a character.
Yes.
Vegas is a character.
Vegas,
in this.
100%.
They all pretty much same with New York.
Yeah, same with Miami.
I mean, I was so close to putting Mac Taylor on it, because Gary Sinise, pretty much anything he does is just awesome. But so this guy, what was his name? William Patterson, who played the main guy from. Is it Manhunter or Manhunter?
And To Live and Die in LA.
Yes. Oh, did he?
Yes, he is.
That's the one That was your car chases one.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and John's, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. I think it was John's,
so two people, so I've got to watch that film. So this one, there was another show roughly around the same time that I sort of watched alongside this one, and it was like, what I liked about it was that this guy, he kind of just looked like a school teacher, or like he wasn't in it for the, like, unlike Horatio where it kind of like he played for the camera. Grissom was very laid back. He was a bit on the spectrum a bit, wasn't he?
He was
like very
spectrum.
quiet, very reserved. But what I liked about him, he was an entomologist.
Yes.
So he was very into his bugs, like any corpse, he can work out how long something's been there due to the egg or the bug that's
larva,
eating that.
yeah.
And
That was his speciality.
that was it.
It was,
It could go back like decades and decades. Just work. Oh, I've done it again. Working his way out, and it was a really cool. He wasn't the most. He wasn't an exciting character outside of the office, or any. He wasn't bringing any drama or anything like that. But what he was he was you'd want to have him as a boss. I think you'd want to work for this guy.
You could learn from him.
You could learn from him. You want everything about. But he just kept this show kind of on a nice even pace.
Yeah,
and he had like a little cheeky one-liners, like
It's when they brought him back. So the new series they brought in, they didn't have him in the first season of it. Like they've done 2 seasons of it now, and they brought him back. And when they brought him back, it was like, oh yeah, this is how I remember this show. And he has this kind of, because he's not a charismatic character by any stretch of the imagination, but you're drawn to him. And I think it's because of that he's on the spectrum, and
just comes across so good. And
at one stage, he does turn around and say, "I prefer bugs to people."
Wow.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of like, unlike certain.
But I can see where he's coming from.
When people were like, certain shows, you could see that this guy's just a dick, and we can put it on.
Yeah.
Even if this guy was an absolute if the evidence doesn't, that was all of it. You follow the evidence. And
that was his line.
That was his line. You follow what's the evidence telling you? It's telling me that he's not done it. Then
why are you still doing what you're doing?
Why are we still doing it? And like some of the killers that he's chased, like the guy with the fake hand, with the rubber hand, and he put fingerprints on, he got his own rubber hand.
Yeah, Roy Munson.
Made a mold of it.
But he'd taken fingerprints from another person and put them on the rubber hand.
Onto the rubber hand,
taking him around.
Was it a Hollywood Star or something?
Yeah, but it put so much reasonable doubt in there, and he knew it was
something
him.
not right. Yeah.
And the one with the miniature killer.
Yeah, the miniature killer was really good.
But
the miniature killer, he gains a respect for the killer for the level of detail that the guy does. So the crime scenes are set up. So the guy already knows how he's going to kill his victim. So there's one of them where he poisons them by carbon monoxide by stuffing the chimney. And what he does is he creates a miniature of the room that the person dies in, where they die, where they're going to fall dead, and the way they're going to fall dead. And they were like, they couldn't work out how this person had died until they get the miniature and they follow it through and they start dissecting the miniature and they find like a bit of rag or something in the chimney breast that's in there. And they're like, well, this hasn't happened. And then they find the room in someone's house.
Nailed it.
And they save the person by unstuffing their chimney because it was stuffed in the miniature they received a couple of days earlier.
Turned out to be like, each one of them's like, it's the bleach that sets her off, but like in each one of her dioramas,
there's a little canister of bleach or cleaning fluid
there.
or something. Yeah.
But as a character, he's not exciting to talk about, but he's really exciting to watch.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that. No one has ever gone, oh, that Grissom's a bit of a dick, or that he's boring, or you've always liked that character. So when he left, it was kind of like, and then I loved Ted Danson.
Ted Danson was
anything
the closest,
Ted Danson does in.
It was the closest analogue you had to Grissom was when Ted Danson's character.
I mean, I did like Morpheus or
Lawrence
Morpheus.
But the thing with Lawrence Fishburne was, it turns out he was a villain.
Yeah.
He'd stolen the identity of someone to take over. So when Grissom had gone,
Banshee, she Banshee there.
Bansheed.
But Grissom's character is just someone, like you say, he's on the spectrum. He is doing the work. He's always there on the scene. So like he's the first one there. He's the last one to leave. He's the boss that sets the example of his team and expects his level of commitment.
But this is the reason that we've got like 50,000 like criminal scientists now.
Yeah,
you know, like
everyone's watching CSI.
Everybody
going,
wants to be a CSI. Yeah, you know, everyone wants to be that sort of thing. And to be fair, I mean, if I was smart enough, I would probably. But it made me want to kind of follow that. Literally, this new way of watching a police show. Because it was all about the evidence, which it was never really about. You had to invest. They're not doing the investigating. They're doing the investigating at a lab table.
Yeah.
It sounds very boring, but it's really well done.
It's you kind of going, I need to look up luminol just so I can spray my house.
To me, to the person who's, I think it's like, that's down to a T. But then I think if you probably ask a criminal,
it's
they're
most
probably
boring
so
job
far
ever.
off.
Yeah.
It's like, you wouldn't do. Why are you spraying that? You know, but the way they set it up to makes you think that that's how it's done. You know, he's just a really great, and he doesn't have a long character arc or anything like that. He's just a great character for this season, for this like the 9 years he's in.
His character development as well goes from being someone that hates people to someone in a relationship by the end of it, and that arc to see him actually be able to make those connections as well.
Yeah, like I said, but it's a very small. It's not like he's got a solver back. It's just a.
There's one episode, and it runs into 2 episodes. So because of his interest in insects, he also has an interest in blood, and he comes across a woman who has porphyria.
Oh, okay.
And the way that she gets her iron levels up for the porphyria is that she will freeze dry livers, and she'll blend them up into a smoothie.
Of course, because of iron.
So what she then does is she becomes a serial killer. But he's fallen for her, and she's a psychologist. So she's helping him with some social anxiety issues, while actually she's the big villain, and he's worked it out already, but he doesn't want to kind of not go to the sessions.
Yeah.
And he knows that
Hannibal
she's
style.
Yeah, he knows that she's the killer. He knows that she's killing people, taking their liver and their blood, draining them of it, so that she can then sustain her lifestyle and keep herself alive or feeling better with porphyria. And so he's very much kind of like, and he's very much kind of there. And like at the end of the that kind of, I think it's a series arc, more or less, that she's in it. He arrests her and he goes, I've known all along. You've helped me, and now I'm going to help you by getting you the help you
13,
need.
is it, I think 13, maybe up to Ted Danson leaving?
Yeah.
Then it's solid.
Yeah.
It's a solid, all of them, same with New York and Miami. They're
Pretty
kind of
much.
the last filter off, but when you're the fan of it, they don't do it, and you follow it through, if you know what I mean. But if you watch them, like if you watch the newest series first, you might not
get into it as much.
Yeah, no, Gil Grissom.
Nice. Good pick. My number 2. So your number 3 was in Florida.
Yep.
And you kind of said it earlier. We're going to go to Miami, and we're going to pick Dexter Morgan from Dexter.
Definitely.
I loved the show, but again, it's not about the show, it's about the character. What I love about this character is that at birth, he has been grown up to be a serial killer. He's been taught how to be a serial killer. But the twist is it's a serial killer for the good.
He's a serial killer who finds serial killers.
Right. And not just that, he's like...
But he has a moral compass.
Exactly, yeah. So he will go and, like, kill a rapist or whatever it is, anything that's connected to... that's around him. But the funny part is that he works for Miami PD. He's not essentially a cop, though, is he? He's a blood analyst for the Miami PD.
Specialist,
Yeah. So he's the guy that goes to the crime scene and goes, right, impact was there, body felt there, and the killer went this way or whatever.
Yeah, all the droplets go here.
Yeah.
They walked for a
But
bit.
that's what Grissom is pretty much the same in Vegas, because the copper follows him around, so it's exactly the same.
But I like how he is trying to suss it out before the actual Miami PD is trying to suss it out.
His information,
everything he holds back, and then like even evidence and whatnot, just so that he can get to that killer first, and he can take them out, and he kind of collects blood samples from after he kills them, doesn't he? And stuff.
Yeah, he collects
like a trophy.
Collects the slides of the ones that he's killed.
Slides, that's it.
But my favourite is the fact that if he's been at the crime scene beforehand, as in like hunting down the killer, and he's there. He turns up on the crime scene, goes, oh shit, I've been here, and then forensically cleans himself from the crime scene.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he knows down to a T what to do.
Yep.
Like I said, he's been, training for, like this as a kid, and funny enough, wasn't his dad a copper?
So no, his
stepdad.
So his mum, he's got a traumatic origin. Like he's discovered by his kind of foster dad or step
That's it.
dad in a container. The container's filled with blood. The blood is his mother's blood that was killed by gangsters or another serial killer.
He's in there for days or
and he
weeks,
didn't
wasn't he?
cry, so he's psychologically kind of already screwed. And because of that kind of psychological damage, later on in his kind of formative years, the dad realizes that actually animals don't like him. He doesn't like animals. He is quite happy to just break the neck of birds because they're injured but has no kind of feelings towards them. The family dog dies. He's not really interested, but he's interested in, the state the dog's in. He's just got an all-around interest in death and doesn't seem to have an emotional attachment to any of those sort of things. And his dad from that deems him suitable for this experiment that later on you work out is not just his dad involved, but the psychologist of his dad.
That's right.
And him become like they were a team working to turn him into a killer for good. And it's kind of it's kind of grooming on a whole different level. Grooming to kill and Dexter Morgan is the ultimate machine. I mean, he eventually works out actually he does have emotions, he does have a life, he is a person after all, because all of his underlying tones are that he's not a person, that he's lost something in his person. Is he normal? Is he not normal? He has feelings, but he doesn't really have feelings, or should he have feelings? The weird one being that he has feelings for his sister all along.
I mean,
but he didn't know he had feelings to his sister until he nearly lost his. It's a whole.
It's a whole new
level
ball
of-
game, and but
and it also has Julie Benz from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Does, yes.
Who plays his first love and the mother of his child, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
Dexter's a great investigator.
It's great. I mean, again, it's like it is the crime solving one per week, but there's also an ultimatum. Like there is an actual serial killer that's above him, better than him, and he has to like take him out so he could be like Highlander, only one, be the one sort of thing.
Jet Li.
Little Jet Li, yeah, of course. But no, this is one where, again, pretty much like you said, Mario, you want to feel for him, but you do feel for him. Then there's moments you don't feel for him, and then like when the emotions kick in, and it does kick in with that as well, and then you just feel for him. Then you're on his side, and then there are times where, do you know what? I don't know if I want to be on his side because this guy's killing people, but it's for the good, and it just puts a new twist on the whole serial killer thing, isn't it?
It's the end of the series. I can't remember which one it is, where he's been dumping all the bodies out in the lake, and they just start floating to the surface.
Season 2, yeah.
And he's like shitting himself because his boat is now
Butcher Bay Killer. They call
Butcher
him.
Bay Killer. Yeah.
Is
Is it and his sister's now investigating it, and his best mate's investigating
him.
And he's then trying to forensically distance himself from it all. Yeah, it's such a great idea, but he's also such a great investigator. Like I say, the way that he follows the criminals and the bad guys to be one step ahead of his colleagues and kind of people.
But then there's always something where he forgets something and it's always left behind. Then he has to deal with that. I love it. He's such a great character, honestly. So it had to be my number 2. So let's go to Howard's animated number 2.
So to animate the improbable, we're looking at 1961's Dick Tracy.
Nice.
I love Dick Tracy.
This came, so there was a resurgence of this cartoon off the back of the Warren Beatty film.
Yes.
I love that movie.
The movie was great.
So underrated, such a great.
It is, right? Come on.
cast.
And Al Pacino kicks ass in that movie.
I forgot it was him.
Yeah.
I just see him now.
Big boss, yeah.
Dustin Hoffman's mumbles. Like, fucking amazing.
Who played Dick Tracy?
Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty.
Yeah. Who was dating.
He directed as well.
Yeah, who was also dating Madonna at the time.
He was banging her at the time,
That's
wasn't he?
why she was in the film.
Exactly.
And did the soundtrack.
Yeah, she did. It was a good soundtrack as well.
So,
great soundtrack.
I mean, you could take Dick Tracy as the character in any iteration, really, but because this is an animated list, that's why I've put this particular cartoon on the list. It didn't really make any sense as a cartoon because you would never really see Dick Tracy.
He didn't do anything.
No, he didn't do anything. He'd be be on the end.
Not brains, is it? I can't remember.
I have the list, so let me just refer to the list. So he would be on the end of a radio. His chief would then refer a crime or something to solve to him. He would then push it onto one of his subordinate flatfoots, and this involved a list of characters as Joe Jitsu.
Yes.
Who was
Joe Jitsu?
Who was racially questionable right now at this moment in time.
Absolutely, yeah. So we won't talk about that. Hemlock Holmes, who was like he was
a Sherlock Holmes style character, but not really.
British bulldog, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So he'd always sniff out the case. Who else did we have? We had Heap O'Calorie, who was a parody of a sort of a comedian around at the time, comedic actor called Andy Devine. But yeah, if you could just think of this Irish, very thematic Irish accented kind of caricature.
So yeah,
so John,
one, yeah,
John, basically, yeah.
Can you go investigate this crime? A bit gory.
It's bloody gory.
And we had Manuel Tijuana Guadalajara Tampico Go Gomez Jr.
What?
It was a human version of Speedy Gonzales.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, again, racially questionable, but clearly acceptable in 1961.
Wow.
I've chosen Dick Tracy because I love Dick Tracy. So,
he's a great character.
To stick an animated version of him on the list was kind of a no-brainer. And this cartoon, I think, didn't it appear on like the Wide Awake Club or was it Timmy Mallet?
It was Timmy Mallet's.
It was Timmy Mallet.
I was going to say it was big when it came back when the movie came out, didn't it? So
it was, I can't remember, Tommy something or other was the guy that was doing it, and Timmy Mallet was the side act.
I can't remember.
It was back in the days of
Whackaday.
Michaela Strachan was on it as well.
It must have been the Wide Awake Club then. Yeah,
really
because then it
was.
became Whackaday with Timmy Mallet.
Yes.
Anyway, we digress. Yeah, so Dick Tracy. I mean, Dick Tracy is iconic, and I think I love. We talked recently about pulp characters and pulp film and pulp TV. I love Dick Tracy for that exact reason. And to be honest with you, Anne, can we please do a commentary corner on Dick Tracy?
100%, 100%. I just didn't know anyone else that liked that movie. I love that movie.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, absolutely. We got to see characters like I've got them here because I can't remember them. Flat Top, Beady Eyes, Prune Face, Babyface, Itchy, Stooge, Villa, and Mumbles. The Brow,
the
Mole.
I love the fact that each of the characters, they have a name, and then when the character turns up, like the Brow, just this massive brow.
Yeah,
Flat Top literally has a flat top haircut.
Oh, they were alliterative. Yeah, what the name of the character was exactly what they
actually what it was. Yeah.
Was there much detecting going on? Probably not, but I loved the cartoon.
Did you play the game?
Never played the game.
Never played the game.
And the game was kind of like in the same vein as the Batman game.
Yeah,
it was quite dark and gritty, wasn't it? And
it was like that Moonwalker /
Robocop. Right, yeah. No, I always wanted to play it because I liked the look of it, but no, I never got around to it. But yeah, Dick Tracy is a character really. Did much detecting work go on? No, we didn't care. So, moving on to eliminating the impossible, and I absolutely adore this character. I rewatched season 1 very, very recently, prior to devising this list. This character very much, I wanted to be what this character was because of this TV show, and we're going to go due south with Benton Fraser.
I knew this would be in here.
Completely forgot.
I forgot about this, but
I haven't watched this in ages.
Saturday.
Again, I love
5:15 or something.
I love the opening thing to this show as well.
Yeah, I mean the theme. It could go on a theme tune list.
Yeah,
purely because it's absolutely brilliant. And again, a theme tune of my childhood, really, of growing up into my formative years. But Benton Fraser as a character, I mean. Is he on the spectrum? Very possibly.
Oh hell yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So you've got Canadian Royal Mounted Canadian Mountie. He's forced down to Chicago from the icy backdrop of Alaska. I believe.
Yeah, I think it's Alaska.
Somewhere in
basically,
Canada, isn't it?
It's north of Canada. It's Alaska. Yeah. His father has been killed. His father, also a Mountie, has been killed during an investigation of what we discover is an oil company's attempt to cover up the fact that they are doing something rather naughty with the water. It's all about control. It's all about money. Well, anyway, his investigation forces him down to Chicago, and he hooks up with a Chicago beat cop called Ray Vecchio, the Italian caricature of Ray Vecchio, also brilliant. And they proceed to discover who killed his father and discover it's organised crime through big business. They go back up to the icy wastelands and they catch the killer and solve the crime. And a relationship is formed. But the character of Benton Fraser himself, I mean, he's very procedural. He is down the line. He does everything to the T. One of my ex-partners used to joke that I was very much like Benton Fraser when it came to certain things. Whenever he was on the hunt for something, he would always pick up a piece of questionable dirt and then he'd
taste
sniff
it,
and then he'd lick it, and he'd say, "Oh, within this dirt, it contains calcium or
Phosphor or sulfur,
something like this." Yeah, my ex-partner used to go on. You know, you want to go on, lick it, because she knew exactly what you know, kind of where I got that temperament from. But Benton Fraser, I think as an archetypal kind of cop stroke detective, this is normally my go-to if I didn't have my number one on my list. I love the character. He's expertly played by Paul Gross, the actor Paul Gross, who never really went on to do anything else.
No, I was going to say. Neither did the other guy who partnered
the other
with
guys
him.
had loads of bit parts in other shows, but he always plays the disgruntled or a police officer that's bent, or you know, he's always kind of now he plays like a bad
down and out, like sort of.
Yeah, he never plays like the main character. He's always a character actor.
No, which is a shame because
it didn't flop or anything. So
no,
there's
it was a great show.
No. It went on. I think it went on for about 5 seasons in total. It went on from 94 to 99. So 5 seasons, and it was a big success. And it was one of those things I used to go to school and we used to talk about. Did you watch Due South? Because it was so fucking brilliant. He was ably and abetted by his wolf, Diefenbacher.
Yes,
Diefenbacher, yeah. Wasn't he deaf?
He was deaf.
Yes.
But he could read lips, which in itself was absolutely bizarre.
Idea.
It was genius, yeah. So if the dog never wanted to comprehend or understand, he just simply turned away. And it was brilliant, just like a small child. You used to have your case of your week. So it was shows of its ilk, of its time, was always very much was this thing would happen, and Ray and Benton would go off and investigate, and there'll be a little bit of comedy. But I liked the writing because it was very serious, and there was always a lot of heart at the centre of it. And there was one particular, it was a 2-part episode where Benton he lives his life as a singular individual. He lives for his work. He loves his dog. He'll do anything for Ray because I think he sees Ray Vecchio not just as his partner,
but as a friend,
as his best friend, and he'll do anything for him. So he's very much a singular character. But he always alludes to the fact that because Ray always says, "Do you know why don't you go to a bar and just meet women? Why you always take yourself away and you do your own thing?" He's like, "No, I know this is the way that it has to be," because he got his heart broken. Yeah. And it's only late at this 2-part episode where you suddenly realise that he is a human being at his core. He's not just this borderline autistic robot who solves crimes. But you suddenly realise that he had his heart broken, and this is kind of what made him the man that he is. I think as a character, I love him as a detective. I think, again, 100% success rate.
He's very similar to Sherlock Holmes in a lot of ways.
Yes,
obviously not a drug addict, but in the fact,
hell no.
But in the fact that he was very kind of he could see and deduce what was going on around him. Part of that possibly because he was on the spectrum, but also like he would take aspects of every kind of crime or every kind of situation, and he'd be able to, like you say, taste the dirt. He'd be able to scientifically put something into place, and then from that deduce that, so that's going to be, we're going this way. And Ray would be like, why are we doing that?
What the hell are you doing? Why are you licking
that?
that? What are you looking at?
What does that taste of?
Why are you collecting that and putting it in your pocket?
If I remember later on as well, Ray goes away, doesn't he? Or is it a different actor?
The actor that I can't remember his name right now, but the actor that played the original Ray after 2 seasons, he I think either got another part in another series, or he just wanted to move on and do other roles. So therefore, he was replaced by another character, by another actor, but it's still Ray Vecchio. But it's not Ray Vecchio.
Oh, that's right. That's the one they play, isn't it? It is Ray Vecchio, but it's not the same.
so
it's not the same guy, but it has the same name.
He has the same name. His name is Ray, but he's not Vecchio. So basically, he's going undercover. The real Ray has gone away because he needs to go in witness protection.
Yeah.
And this other Ray, I think, is he from? Oh, what is he from? He's not FBI. Is it?
No.
I can't remember what it is. He's from a particular department. But he's jumped in his place. And he keeps saying to Benson, he's like, well, but I'm Ray. And Benson's like, no, I'm almost positive you're not Ray. You look like a completely different man. You're not my Ray. This goes on for a couple of episodes, but before you finally realise that this guy's been put in his place. But then these two become buddies, this new Ray and Benson, and it goes on from there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. He is born in the footprint, the mould of Sherlock Holmes. I adore Sherlock Holmes as a literary character. I've not included him in any iteration on any of these lists purely because he is a literary character. And I would talk about Sherlock Holmes all night long. But that's exactly what he is. Benton Fraser is the modern day Sherlock Holmes. So yes, due south.
Due south. I knew it would be on the list, but yeah.
I forgot
I
all
obviously
about
forgot
that,
what
but
number
I
one's
loved
going to be, but yes, yeah. Makes
I
sense.
just remember watching it, loving it. Don't know why I loved it, but loving it as a kid. There was no reason for me to be loving that show at that age.
It was really enjoyable. And I actually went through a phase and I turned around to my parents and said, I want to be
A Mountie.
A Mountie.
Yeah.
I genuinely actually want to be a Mountie. And they were like, you can't be a Mountie, son. You cannot be a Mountie.
Dream crushers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You can be whatever you want, just not Mountie.
Just not a Mountie.
Yeah, any other type of policeman. No, I want to wear red.
Nice. Let's go to the number ones.
It's number one.
Over to you, sir. Bring it home.
So my number one, had to go number one because I'm really scared of getting punched by this guy or beaten up by this guy, full stop. So he's not necessarily a great detective, not necessarily a great show, but you've always got to put Chuck Norris at the top of any list. I don't care what you say.
Oh, my God.
And there's a tenuous link to, the to Supernatural because it's now the guy that plays Sam now plays Walker, Texas Ranger in a new series. But yes, I have put.
Does he really?
Yes, he does. There's a new series of Walker,
I
Texas
never knew
Ranger,
that.
and he plays Walker, Texas Ranger.
Wow.
It's actually a lot. I'm not going to say this out loud. It is better than the original.
Wow.
In that there's a much better character development of Walker and why Walker is the way he is. But if we go for the Chuck Norris version of Walker, Texas Ranger, so the series has Walker. He's searching for abscondees and people who have escaped kind of the justice system in America. So bail jumpers, I suppose, is one way of putting it, but also wanted criminals across. And the way that the Rangers work is they don't necessarily solve crimes, but they find people who have committed crimes. And that's what he goes out to do. So he goes out to capture people that have done these crimes. Of course, while he's on the search for them, crimes do happen, and Walker solves them. 9 times out of 10 with Kung Fu, because it's Chuck Norris.
Of course.
So what can't be solved with a kick or a punch? Also, the show, because of having Chuck Norris in it, Chuck Norris had some really, really kind of like weird ways of thinking about morality and things to do and right. So you always find that Walker is doing work in the community, normally around Kung Fu. Also, kind of like he will have some sort of lesson to learn during the episode, very much like He-Man. So, did
that involve Kung Fu?
It probably did. He had the way of the fist is the way. But basically, so he would go around kind of trying to find the criminals who were, always shown as big bads. There was never drugs, there was never alcohol, there was never shooting, there was never stabbing. It
was quite wholesome, wasn't it?
It was a very wholesome. If you watch the new version of the show, Walker is a very flawed individual who does like a drink, has PTSD in some form or another.
Like a darker version.
He's living with loss, and you don't quite find out what the loss is until like the first episode really of the new series is quite good in that it doesn't reveal what his problem is. Like you get the impression that there's some sort of sadness or something missing from his life, and then later on you realise that it's his wife has died, and he's left with the kids and a mother-in-law that he can't, or a family that he's leaving to look after the kids. And he feels guilty for that, but he also feels like he has to do some right in the world, so he's become a ranger. So I think that's essentially where the character potentially could have gone with Chuck Norris. I just think Chuck Norris is kind of, no, if you're having me in the show, it has to be right. The show was about product placement so much just to get it funded. It ran for 8 full seasons.
Is it really that much?
It was that much, yeah.
Chuck said
I
we go
honestly
again.
thought it was like 1 or 2, if that. I never knew it was that.
I think Chuck Norris went no, and they went, that's fine by us.
Wow.
We're not
Keep
gonna argue.
rolling.
Keep rolling, yeah. And then when he was going, no, we've got another season out of this, they're going, are you sure? We've got another. Okay, yes, certainly, sir.
Wow.
Way of the fist.
Yeah, the way of the fist, definitely. But the character of Walker, is essentially, he goes out, he hunts down the villains, he finds them very much the same as from Justified. You know, Raylan Gibbons, he is searching for his man, his criminal, and he always finds them. Like you say, 100% success rate. When does Chuck Norris not give 100% success rate anyway? And he will find them, and he means they are cheesy. The episodes, the character of him is always smiley. There is never an episode where, you know, the beard isn't properly coiffed and he looks perfect even after a fight. He is, how can I put it? He is Chuck Norris as a police officer. I've seen the films that he's in where he plays like a police officer, and this is the cleanest police officer Chuck Norris has ever played. Like, so wholesome, so nice. If we go to the new version, Walker Texas Ranger is brilliant. Like, he is flawed, he is able to make mistakes, he gets beaten up.
More of a realistic side
It's
to
a
it.
more
then,
realistic, like he's more like Raylan Gibbons in that if he takes a punch, he takes a punch, and if he gets knocked down by someone bigger than him, he's not scared to kind of fight dirty just to get himself back on top and get in control. And that's what I like about Walker Texas Ranger is he is another Raylan Gibbons, but this time he's flawed 100%. There's something not quite right. There's something not quite there. And Walker, Cordell Walker is just kind of stuck in his own head, but still able to concentrate enough to solve the problem that's ahead of him or find the person that he needs to find to bring them back to justice, to put them back into the system. So yeah, I have put it there because Chuck Norris played him, and I'm scared that if I didn't put it at number 1, Chuck Norris would hunt me down and kill me.
So you've gone with the Chuck Norris, and you're not going for both.
I've not gone for both. I've gone for the character.
Because the character is essentially the same, right?
If we go for the character, it is Cordell Walker, but because Chuck Norris played him, I'll put him at number 1.
Number 1. Thank you, Chuck Norris.
Thank you, Chuck Norris.
Did they do movies for that as well?
They did. Same as like with Murder, She Wrote. They did like 3 or 4.
I just thought it was a movie.
Movies. No, they did 3 or 4 kind of 4 TV movies. But it ran for 8
seen his
8
face
seasons.
in the video shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The joke they make in Expendables about him being a lone wolf
Yes.
comes from Walker Texas Ranger.
Does it really?
Because in the books, because there are books of this, he is referred to as the Lone Wolf Ranger.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. A little bit of a
That should have been. That should have been.
yeah. Did you know? Sorry. But there we go.
Nice pick, mate.
Walker Texas Ranger.
Morning, Chris.
All right,
Number 1, sir.
My number 1 is pretty much my favourite character of all time.
Of all time. Wow.
Of all time. And here, the stakes are a little bit more different from Murder, She Wrote. What? Yes.
How dare you?
He works for a little agency called CTU.
Oh,
and
yes.
this is
Get in there!
I've been like Jack Bauer.
How the fuck did I forget this? God damn it!
Yeah, so Jack Bauer for me is like my favourite character of all time. And to answer your question about does a character make the show? Yes,
100%.
The character is the show.
He is the show, and they tried to make it without him, and it was fucking weak, and it was shit.
Yeah,
and it's just a no-no.
Was that when they tried? Was it John Boyega or something?
Yeah. Oh, it's fucking and they had me because it had 24 on it, and it was like, but it was no. But Jack Bauer, he only needs 1 day. 1 day. He's not fucking.
That's all he
around.
needs.
But technically, it's not even a day. He does it in like 23 hours.
Oh, yeah, but he needs to pee.
You never, see- but you
Spin an
never,
episode to pay.
you never see the toilet breaks.
Oh no, you see him do walk out of a toilet to.
Okay.
They do cluck this.
Is that between the breaks?
In season 4 or 5, you see him start walking out or
He
putting
pays,
something in a bin.
But
like
he never
hasn't
bloody sleeps.
No, he don't
Or
need to
eats.
sleep.
Or eats.
No, for me, this is like I was saying about. This was like the birth of like what a TV series should be. For me, like you had all of these little shows going on, but I just remember kept seeing this poster up with like Kiefer Sutherland up there, and I was like, "Fuck me, I have not seen this. Why have I not seen this?" And I finally got to see it, and it's just from the start, he's a bit of a family man, and and the family life it's a boring bit. But
Well, it isn't because it becomes the good bit.
it comes the good bit,
Yeah.
but it's his stakes of like he's pretty apart from Chuck Norris here. He's the one. This man is the one that you want to kind of save the day. It's like he will go above. He is the epitome of going the extra mile,
100%.
putting the effort in as long.
As he gets what he wants out of it.
Yeah, and it sort of benefits sort of him in a way because he will never put national security at risk, but he will put other people at risk to get information. But
He's the guy that doesn't want to wait for answers. He wants it now. So it's like, let's get it out of him now.
And he's just
So impatient.
Yeah. It'd be me though, mate.
But he's only
I'd be
got
like
24
that.
hours to get it
This
done.
is it. He's only got another 20 episodes to
Because it
go.
starts with him just in this office, and then by like the end of like episode 2, you're like, fuck me, he's out in the field, and then it's just 9 days of him fucking people up, like literally.
But it's when we talk about like, is he an investigator? 100%.
100%.
Because he has to get the information, like you say, quick. And rather than like with some of our people in here, like he just slowly over 6 or 7 episodes, he works it out. In one episode, he's worked out who's double crossed him, who's killed, the person that he liked the most,
Who he's killed.
he's killed. Yeah,
He's got to go back to explain to the people that he's let their husband die.
Yeah.
Because, and it's just like to follow this character you are so heavily invested in Jack. You're like, go on, Jack. And there's a point where you didn't know if 24 was coming back.
Yeah.
So there was points where like, because at the end of season 5, if there's a cliffhanger, but season 6 of the box set is just sitting there, you're like, well,
It's got to be something going on.
yeah, he's coming back. But the torture and like the what most cop shows, he has a line and a code. He is so black site and black, like off the books. Like he will just rip out like some outlets and start.
He does it, doesn't he? He
electrocuting.
does it at one stage with a lamp, doesn't
Yeah,
he? He rips the cable out of the lamp and just starts shocking the guy with it. And then in the end, he uses that as a defib to bring him back down as well.
There's a scene that epitomizes like how much like they're scared of him. Like there's a president who's talking to like the Madam President.
And he flinches.
She's like, no, we'll lock him up. We'll put him in a black site. She's like, no, we'll put him halfway across. He goes, Madam, you are not getting it. He will find a way. He will escape. He will get us. And it just like. But the reason I love this show, as well as him, is it's the twists and the turns of each episode.
Absolutely.
And like the cast is so well done around him. But like Justified, he is like Rayland. He is the main point of. And once he's got the shackles off and he becomes a bit damaged, he becomes a much better sort of character.
It's very rare that there's a scene that he is not in as
Not
well.
in.
So.
I think he's on it for like. There's only maybe like an hour out of like the whole thing that he's not actually in the show. But this was the show that allowed me for main characters will die. Because that was never a thing in prime TV.
No, mainstream was never.
Bombs and shit will go off. Like you're not going. That was what I loved about it. He can't stop it all.
I was about to say that.
You can't stop it, but you're behind him to to really, really try.
And then when he gets blamed for all the stuff, and you're just behind him, like he was doing it for this reason and this and that.
Yeah. There's scenes where he's trying to do it for the greater good, and everyone thinks
the greater good. That was it.
But there's a scene where like his sort of current girlfriend, her husband gets shot, or something happens to him. He gets robbed or something, and he ends up on the table, and he's flatlining. But obviously, the guy who's coming in with this, I think it was a wet key or something, and he's got to come in, and he just ends up drawing the gun in his own hospital on his own doctors, telling him to stop working on that guy.
Yeah.
Basically, kill his partner's husband.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but he needs to do it for the greater good. Basically, it's. The whole
Do you ever feel like he was doing it for himself or for country, or
I believe
what do you think it was?
Always for country. He was very.
But there was, like you said about family, there was situations where his family was on the line and stuff like that as well.
But then, if you know, he bent the rules on that one. But he never, because there was a chance he could have killed, and he should have killed Palmer in that lobby. But he goes, I just need to go quiet for a couple of hours, doesn't he? And that's how he gets away with it. I think. And it's like, because you know when he goes after like dodgy members of like high-ranking officials, he's going for them, but he wants them out, and then someone to replace the constitution of that. So he's always for the good, but the way he goes about it to other people, it's not nice. But as a character.
You're behind him all
100%,
the way.
And I don't know if you ever there was the redemption. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I saw
it.
It was very short.
There was also a 5-minute during the Vodafone thing where the Chinese got him, and they did 2 5-minute episodes of him being tortured in China, and they basically do a Ramsay Bolton where they keep letting him escape with US, but they're part of the Chinese. They're fucking him over and bringing him back. But they say they had him for 3 years.
Yeah, at the end of season 5, the Chinese get him, didn't they?
They go, he never said a word.
No,
he would never.
Because he's badass.
He is badass, and he will get any information. There is nothing he cannot get.
No one could break him.
No one could break him, and it will be solved. At the end of the day.
We'll find out who planted the bomb.
Don't know how broken it is, but the end bit might be but there'll be a long stretch of damage. But the investigation part of Jack Bauer of he's pretty much one of the greatest detectives. Investigators, people the way he sniffs and the way he just follows the breadcrumbs and he goes in without warrants and he's well, we've got no evidence. I don't need any evidence. Just get me in the room. But as a character, and they've just announced a new one.
Shut the front
with
door.
Kiefer in it as
Kiefer's coming back.
No way.
What about his daughter?
I don't.
Alicia Cuthbert.
Yes.
Girl Next Door.
Yeah. Yes. I love that movie.
Yeah.
With Timmy Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Raylan
24.
Givens
If you haven't
himself.
seen it, it's groundbreaking in the sense that the whole series is. Each episode is an hour or 47 minutes.
with adverts.
It's honestly one of the greatest things I've had to experience in television.
I still can't believe I forgot this.
Because
well done, mate, for putting that on there.
Because everything after it just became. Game of Thrones wasn't so shocking because people who had never watched 24 were like, "Oh my god, people are no, you're just so late." They are just doing.
Where you been?
Where you been? They are just.
Losers.
I love just kill off main characters. You think it kills a series?
I forget about that as well. It was
24 did it first.
Did it first
when they killed off his wife.
24. We're not even messing around with an intro.
Yeah.
It's just the number, isn't it?
Yeah, but I always used to play a little game because it would go 7, and in my head I'll go, right, 8, I'd always try and guess.
Count it down during the adverts and then
guess the
What number would it be? Yeah.
I mean, if you were lucky,
It was always 4 minutes from what it was.
sometimes you would buzz it if you were like, oh, I'm at 11 o'clock and it's 11 o'clock, or if you're 12 hours out and you're like, we are so real time.
I think I've said this before. Like we did a series in a day once. We actually put it on and watched it from start to
You
finish.
actually done it for the whole
It's a
Wow.
chore.
24
I mean,
series.
season 5
The best ever.
it's like, and it doesn't. You don't normally go. That
Yeah.
like season 5.
Usually
you
they
go,
dip down from it, but no, it was like whoop.
oh,
So
like you
good,
could
mate.
just do a whole like episode of like the greatest.
Yeah.
And
cliffhangers.
RoboCop's in that series as well.
Yep.
Season 5.
Henderson.
Yeah.
Christopher Henderson. He's like one of
What
the.
a piece of work, man.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. So like, because I was flicking through it and it was just. It came up in one, and I was like, "Oh my god, it can go on."
It's in the list.
It made it, mate.
Oh yes.
Good pick. Well done. I'm still kicking myself over that. Sorry, right. Sorry, nothing else on that, no?
No.
Right, okay. My number 1. Right, so we had my number 4 was the Winchesters, which was just crazy. So let's go full batshit crazy with this one. Tim, if you're listening, this is for you as well, because you would have killed me if I didn't put this. My number 1 is Special Agent Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks.
Right. Yeah.
First off, I love the show. I love David Lynch. Why I picked this character is because, how do I say this? He's essentially a rookie at the time, and he's investigating the murder of Laura Palmer. But there's something about him that is just, he acts like he's not a detective. Like, he comes off quite dim-witted and like very, how he speaks to you and how he approaches you and stuff. It's not something an agent would do, because I think he's an FBI agent, isn't he?
Yes.
Special Agent FBI. Yeah, and you think to yourself, well, if he spoke to me, I wouldn't have thought he was someone as high as FBI.
Yeah.
But there's something working in there at the same time. So he might speak to you really weirdly, but he's trying to solve something at the same time. The reason I love the show is, because, again, if you've ever watched it, it is balls to the walls, batshit crazy. So much weird stuff happens in the show, but there's something about this that keeps you going and keeps you watching Dale to try and figure this shit out. And then we come to the ending where he figures it out and he goes to the back lodge and all this batshit crazy stuff happens. I don't want to spoil it because you need to see this to believe this. And what happens with is that he figures it out. He knows what the outcome is, and then it just ends. But there is no outcome. And then we never heard anything from him until 25 years later. They brought it back. And Dale Cooper came back again, but Dale Cooper wasn't just Dale Cooper. He was Dale Cooper, but even more dim-witted. Like, he had no clue what he was, what he was doing. It was essentially like a child again, experiencing everything for the first time. But it wasn't until the end of that series where Carl McLaughlin, who plays his character, nailed it straight away. Like, he never left 25 years ago. It came straight back to him. And there's Dale Cooper right there. Fantastic. I mean, I loved it. I don't know. Have any of you watched it? I mean,
No, it's on my list because you talked about it. What episode it was on? Was it?
I can't
Cliffhangers
remember.
or something? It was
Cliffhangers, TV cliffhangers.
25-year cliffhanger for you.
Yeah, so I go back and listen to that episode if you want to know about Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
watched
so it's on
it,
my
but
list too.
It was so long ago.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just, it's done by David Lynch. Everyone knows David Lynch. He's a very well-known movie director, but it's not essentially... He's a very artistic and very out-there director.
Yeah.
You have to... It's a love or hate, term with this director, isn't it? But the fact that they done the series and he said that he would never come back to it, because this is early 90s, so I think it was like 91, 92 this came out.
I was still at school, so it has to be a long time ago.
Exactly. So, and then we didn't get the new series till 2017, 2018. I mean, what a gap is that? I mean, why would you ever come back to something like that? But the fact that they came back and finished it and answered the questions that we all wanted to be answered somehow, again, go back and listen to the episode. But I had to put Dale Cooper in there because I love how Carl McLaughlin plays that character and how he goes to the cafe for cherry pie and coffee and just doesn't act like an agent at all, or a guy who's trying to, like, you know, find the evidence for all these investigations and stuff. And then at the end of the episode, he figures it out, and then you've got to wait for the next one. It was kind of like my first experience with a cliffhanger for a TV episode. Because, again, this was another show that was on BBC Two.
BBC Two, it was the
Sunday.
Sunday at 9 o'clock. And then, again, it was at 1. If I watched it with the parents, I could stay up late. So you can imagine a 10-year-old me watching this, like, what the fuck is this? But, my God, he had to go on there. It would have been Jack Bauer, but I completely forgot about it. And Dale Cooper would have gone up a notch. But, yeah, purely for the way Carl Grodman played him. Loved it. So that's my number one.
All right. So my number one, Animating the Improbable. This follows the story of the world's most powerful cyborg detective.
Has he got a sidekick?
He has got a sidekick.
Is it his niece?
It is his niece.
Yep, I'm on.
So this is Inspector
Gadget, nice.
The irony behind this is that I actually watched the TV program that spawned Inspector Gadget before.
Yes, I was about to say this.
Gadget.
I remember this.
So the character of Inspector Gadget is voiced by Don Adams. Now, Don Adams in the 60s was the star of Get Smart.
Yes.
And this was about...
they've done a movie of that, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, it was shit.
It was, yeah.
Compared to the TV show,
TV show
Was it really?
far superior, yeah. So it follows an inept American spy, and week by week he'd go off and he'd investigate something. And he also had a sidekick.
He did.
What was the character's name? I can't remember the character's
I can't remember.
name. Female character.
It was a female character, and she was the actual winner of it all.
She was the brains behind the whole thing, yeah. So... based on the concept of Get Smart, they created the character of Inspector Gadget. So they kiddified it and they turned it into something more digestible. Well, I mean, Inspector Gadget, I think, is one of the most iconic cartoon characters that we have today. Also voiced by Don Adams, just to create that little link. But yes, assisted by Penny, his niece Penny.
And Brains. It was Brains, yep.
Yeah. Roof, fighting the
Claw. Dr. Claw.
Dr. Claw,
Dr.
but the
Claw.
evil machinations of Mad, I think.
Yes, it was Mad.
MAD, isn't it?
Yeah, MAD, whatever that may stand for, I don't know. Let's just make up an acronym.
But it was the same villain in Get Smart as well. You never saw the villain's face.
No, that's right.
You always saw the hand and the cat.
Yeah.
And in the cartoon,
Same
Inspector
thing.
Gadget, you saw the hand and the cat, but the cat was always like the main character in those sequences. Like, he would grab the cat, he'd stroke the cat, he'd almost choke the cat when Gadget did something, and the cat was trying to get away.
Yeah, but yeah, you literally just saw this silver gauntlet, didn't you? This claw. So basically, Gadget would have to stop whatever was happening that week, and again, it was silly and nothing really happened.
He never stopped anything.
He was such
though,
a
did he?
dumbass,
He was
though,
shit.
wasn't he?
Literally,
Oh,
it was Penny and Brain.
Oh yeah, there were two ones. Penny would tell Brain what to do, or Penny would be there on site with her little notepad, her
I
diary.
always wanted that book. It was
Yeah.
so badass.
The closest I got was a file fact or fun fact.
Fun facts. Fun
Yeah,
facts.
damn right.
But it was amazing.
90s.
But it was the dog collar as well.
£5 for the book fair.
It was the dog collar as well, which had the aerial come out.
That's
a bit
right,
and
yeah.
mouthpiece. And whenever she asked him a question, it'd be like, "Oh, like, brilliant!" So
You're like, don't
shit
change into the
Scooby-Doo.
fucking band, change into the sport car.
Yeah, too right.
And I always wanted a toy of Inspector Gadget, because whenever the copter came out of his hat and he had the little handlebars.
And you could get that from Burger King. Did a run of them, didn't they?
They
when
did.
first
That's
came out?
right. I remember that.
Never got
Yeah.
a hold of one. I mean, check out eBay, kids. You can probably find one. But
Go Gadget, go!
Did anyone ever see the Matthew Broderick movie?
I did see
I
it.
did.
I
It
never
was-
saw it. I never
it
saw
was
it.
two of them.
It was.
Yeah, but he was only in the first one.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
was it good for? You could have done it so well.
They just didn't do it. It's like
They
most
didn't do it
things.
justice, basically, did they?
No, they didn't. They tried to make it more serious and more comic, but more serious. And Brains, I think, was just rubbish. And Penny, like, there was an adaptation there that they could have done, but they just didn't do it.
Yeah. But for the most famous cartoon detective, it has to be Inspector Gadget. And he looked the part as well.
100%.
I mean, he had the hat, the sort of
trench coat,
the 30s look, that
Yeah.
pulp look about him. I was always drawn to Inspector Gadget as a kid.
Literally, the best undercover agent is the chief, isn't it?
Yeah,
Chief.
Like, where's he coming out? And it just
Oh,
pop his
yes.
eyes out of the bin, or
That's
like
right.
It's where he had a big facial moustache and he'd come out as like a little schoolgirl with a lollipop.
Oh,
and
it's
you'd be
so bizarre. I mean, you accepted it at the time, but you look
Yeah.
back on it now, you just think,
this is weird.
what?
Yeah.
And a great theme tune.
Yes.
I was about to say, great
And
intro.
it was so close to being on my list.
It was, and again, if we ever did another kiddies theme shows,
It'll go on there.
It would go on there, I think.
The ones we missed.
Yeah,
Yeah, the ones that got
The
away.
ones that got away. So, if we eliminate the impossible and go to my number one, again, there is absolutely no major surprises because there's just one more thing. It's Columbo.
Yeah.
So we'll say it again. Columbo!
Yeah. Much like Doctor Who, Indiana Jones, Columbo is one of these characters that I've grown up with since I was a kid, and I instantly fell in love with the characterization. Peter Falk, I think, is an absolutely brilliant actor. The thing about Peter Falk is that you never really see him in anything else. He's the granddad from Never-Ending Story, and he's done various other things, but yeah.
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride,
Princess Bride,
yes.
yes.
Princess
In
Bride.
my top 5 films of all time.
Princess Bride?
Oh my
Really?
God. Oh my God.
Inconceivable.
Oh my God. Literally. That's Gideon.
It is, yes.
The guy, you killed my father.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what can I say that I haven't already bloody said? I think he is the greatest detective of all time outside of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Who, again, I've not put on any of these lists because that would be cheating. Columbo is
I took them off.
Columbo is a genius concept. So it takes the well-trod path of the detective trying to discover, along with the audience, who committed the crime or the murder, and then throughout a series of procedural episodes, you would figure it out, and you'd get your man. But we already know who's done it.
Yep, because we've seen the beginning.
Right from the very beginning, the audience are shown the killer. They're shown how they do it. They're shown the motive. They're shown the outcome. Columbo then turns up about a third of the way through the episode. So all of a sudden, this little Peugeot 403 turns up. This beaten up piece of old shit. This European joke that everybody laughs at, but out steps the greatest criminal mind I think that has ever stalked the annals of television. You know that if Columbo is on your case, then your cards are marked. And he always knows who's done it, literally from the first second that he meets them, because normally the killer is at the scene because they want to flaunt the fact that they've gotten away with it. Or they want to push it in somebody's face, or they just want to see what's happening. They're always there, and they've always got an excuse. And Columbo knows exactly who it is, and he'll pinpoint them, and he'll go, "Excuse me, who are you? Why are you here? Oh, well, I'm the sister, the brother, the husband of." Great. Well, you're not showing any emotion. You've got no reason to be here. What's that on your shoe? Can you tell me exactly what? And he literally, from the second that he meets them, he'll pinpoint who they are, what they've done, how they've done it, and then it's just a matter of fact that he's going to stalk them until they give up. I mean, would you call him the angel of death?
I think so, because wherever he turns up, someone has to have,
Going out of the 70s, so the show ended in about 78, 77, 78. It comes to the end of its run.
How many seasons does it have?
There's a lot of seasons. There's 10 seasons.
Okay.
10 plus seasons. But it came back in the
More
mid-80s.
than one a year, then? Was it? Or was it?
It was roughly about one a year. Yeah. But it came back in the mid-80s. So they brought him back. And what I love about that is because, again, this character, if he's on your trail, you're fucked. So the killer of this very first episode of this brand new series, he's up to no good, and we've been exposed to that. And then Columbo, he's been called in because he's a homicide officer. Yep. So anytime that there is a homicide, he'll turn up. And a lot of the time, the killer will go, "Well, I don't understand. Why are you here? You're from homicide." He goes, "Yes, exactly. That's the whole point." So there's a scene in this brand new episode in the 80s series where this car is just sat in shadow. You can't quite see who's in it. But all of a sudden, you can see him light this cigar, his famous cigar, and then you can hear in the background, and you know that the killer is his days are numbered because
Yeah.
the angel of
Columbo's
death
here.
has turned up in the guise of Columbo. He's a bumbling comedic little character, and he always wants the killer to believe that he hasn't got a clue, that they've gotten away with it. He's not on their track. Well, unfortunately for him, this man is a genius, and it's even pointed out in one particular episode. It's called the Sky High IQ Murder, I think, from memory, and it's basically a bunch of Mensa members who sort of hole themselves up in this think tank in this building, and it's a commune, and they bring all their great intellects together. One of them is murdered by another one for specific reasons, and Columbo's on the case. But this guy, the murderer, turns around to Columbo and he says, "What is your IQ?" He said, "Because there's no way you should have been able to figure this out." But he does it. He manages to figure out that through the placement of something on a record and this record playing and knocking it off and firing a gun. You remember the episode, yeah. He says it was easy because you gave it away the very first time that I met you. But he says, yeah, you are a genius. So what is perceived as this silly, bumbling little detective is potentially up there with the annals of Sherlock Holmes.
Absolute genius.
Wow.
And from every episode, and every episode has me gripped. And originally, when I first sat down to start watching this, and it was my mum that got me into it, and I thought, oh, God, what is this grey 70s TV series? Well, lo and behold, it was one of the most exciting things that I ever watched. And it had me gripped week after week after week. And it is that Sunday afternoon matinee feeling.
Yeah.
I am absolutely in my comfort zone whenever I sit there. Two things. If I sit down and watch Doctor Who, or if I sit down and watch Columbo, and it has to be, I will always watch a rerun of Columbo on a Sunday afternoon around about 4:30, 5 o'clock. And just enjoy an hour and a half's worth of absolute genius. So, yes.
Columbo ain't got shit on Quincy.
Fuck Quincy, man. Fuck Quincy up his ass.
Fight.
We like Columbo, but we like Quincy. Who is best?
Columbo all the way.
Columbo, all the way, mate.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Some good picks there, guys. So
Thank you.
two clashes?
Two clashes.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's
Too
it.
bad.
Not bad.
Any honourable mentions?
I got loads.
I got a few.
Go for it.
I got TJ Hooker, John Bergerac, Magnum PI, Edmund Reed, Jane Tennyson, Poirot, Adrian Monk, Olivia Benson, D'Ellen Pascoe, Father Dowling, Luther, Veronica Mars, DCI Jack Frost, John Taggart, and John Shaft.
Nice.
Oh, I just thought, who's the Creek?
Jonathan Creek.
Jonathan Creek.
yeah.
That literally
Who's
just
the
popped-
Creek?
Just popped into my head.
Me every morning when I get up.
So I've gone for Peter Burke from White Collar.
Yep.
Did you ever watch that? It's basically Catch Me If You Can, the series each week you're doing frauds. DCI Alec Hardy, David Tennant, Broadchurch.
Broadchurch, yeah.
I know of it.
so
I've never
good.
watched it.
Honestly,
really good as well.
Really, really good. Jonathan Ames, which was Bored to Death. Did you ever watch that with Ted Danson, where he becomes a private detective?
No, I never
He's
watched
bored and he just puts stuff in like the classifieds.
Yeah.
He says, "I'm cheap and I'll try and solve a mystery for him," and it's just like, it's pretty cool.
Okay.
It was one of the first sort of, when Sky Atlantic became a new challenge.
That's
it was
right,
like-
yeah.
It was one of those early ones.
That and Blue Bloods.
Oh yeah,
With Magnum PI in it.
Yeah. The original indie.
What's it? Helen Mirren from Primeval.
Prime suspect.
Prime
yes, Jane,
suspect, that's
Jane
it.
Tennyson.
That's
And he-
it.
You've pretty much said them all. I'll add in there Miss Marple,
Yep.
obviously. Again, this a lot of what I like comes from my mum's viewing habits and Agatha Christie. So you've mentioned Poirot.
I was about to
but
say, no one mentioned that.
Yeah, Miss Marple, most definitely, very underrated. And I'm going to say basically any iteration of Sherlock Holmes, but I have to say, and if I'd have put this guy on the list, it would have
Benedict.
Jeremy Brett.
Jeremy Brett.
Jeremy
Yes.
Brett.
Yes. The 90s.
The 80s
yeah,
version.
80s version.
Yeah, 80s into 90s.
Because I would have said the Benedict Cumberbatch one.
Well, I
For me,
love,
as a-
I love Sherlock, Benedict Cumberbatch, and I love Johnny Lee Miller as Sherlock in Elementary.
Elementary, yeah.
Elementary's
But
quite good.
when you mash these all
Lucy Liu.
together. He's the same character, but Jeremy Brett is the epitome of
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes on TV.
Yeah.
I can't put him on this list. It's cheating. Sherlock Holmes is the detective. Along those same lines, because I'm going to move within the boundaries of my own topic, I'm going to put House on there.
Yeah, go for it.
Gregory House, because he is Sherlock Holmes.
Definitely.
Procedural,
The doctor one.
Yeah.
Procedural case of the week.
Yep.
So I had the new Jack Reacher,
Yep.
the one on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Okay.
It's very good. It's
Really
You'll
good.
really enjoy it.
Yeah, not
the detective, though?
Way better.
Yeah,
he is.
he is an army ranger for like any crimes, like NCIS, anything inside
The
the
military police.
military police.
Okay.
He's military police, but he
With the
solves
Sherlock
the
sort of
issues,
like-
yeah,
I just
yeah.
wouldn't have picked it
Like
as
like
the
internal
first thing
affairs.
Reacher comes up, like
Internal-
army guy or something.
He-
normally.
he-
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
so
Internal
Alan,
affairs.
Alan Richmond is really good as
He's
Reacher.
a
Like, he's a
fantastic
proper
actor.
Reacher.
Martin Clunes, which was DCI Colin
Yes.
Colin
yeah,
Sutter, which
yeah.
was the Manhunt, which was the true crime, the Millie Dowley,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Levi's, and what was the
I can't remember the other one, but it's the one along the beach path, isn't it?
yeah? No, you got the one during Croydon during the early 2000s. You had the guy breaking in to the old ladies' houses.
Yeah,
and
the
then
Night Stalker.
Night Stalker. It was, season 1 was Millie Dowler. Season 2 was that, and it was so good.
Yeah.
but it was like a bit
I
tubby
couldn't
to
remember
wa-
the character as well. Cassie something or other from Unforgotten as
Yeah.
well was one to.
Yes, I think that's about it for me.
Cool.
Nice. Shall we end it there then, guys?
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
All right. First off, thank you for hitting that play button. And if you like what you listen to, follow us on Facebook at the M.T.V.B. Podcast, on TikTok at M.T.V.B. Podcast 197, or on Instagram at M.T.V.B. Podcast, as well as
M.T.V.B. podcast at M.T.V.B. podcast on YouTube.
YouTube. So I be Antman, followed by,
H, the man with two lists.
Super Mario.
And Heisenbyrne.
and we'll see you next week for the final episode of Season 9. Goodbye.
Ho, ho, ho. Spoilers.